Shards of betrayal still slice through my mind, haunting me every time I look in the mirror. On our 10th anniversary, I found my wife tangled with another man, and something inside me snapped. They told me to simply walk away, but I chose a cold, calculated revenge. My old life disappeared the instant I hammered that wedding ring to pieces. Now, I'm fighting to reclaim my kids while watching her lose everything she once prized. I refuse to remain the naive husband she thought I was. This is my story, raw and unfiltered. Before we begin, let me know where you're tuning in from down in the comments, and if you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our next tale. I remember that Wednesday so clearly, like I was floating outside my own body watching a terrible scene unfold. I'd just gotten off work early at the bank. My boss patted me on the back, said, "Go celebrate your anniversary, Ethan." We were about to hit 10 years of marriage. 10 years. I left the office feeling proud. Had a gift hidden under the passenger seat, a thin silver necklace, something I figured Vanessa might love because she was always complaining that I bought her practical stuff, never anything romantic. I turned the radio up as I drove home, my heart beating in sync with the music. I kept picturing her face. Vanessa had a way of lighting up a room, you know? That big smile, bright eyes, one of those women you can't help but look at. She always complained that I worked too many hours, that I'd lost sight of fun. So I wanted to show her I could still be spontaneous. Sneak home around lunch, take her out for a nice dinner, maybe stay at that fancy new hotel in town. Just the two of us. I hoped it might bring us closer, like we used to be before bills and mortgages took over. I pulled into our driveway, noticing her car was already there. She must have taken the day off, I thought. That's perfect. Maybe she was planning a surprise for me, too. My excitement grew. I pictured balloons or a heartfelt card. She used to leave handwritten notes for me on the kitchen table, telling me she missed me or that I was handsome in my suit. I unlocked the front door quietly, not wanting to ruin my own surprise. I even kicked off my shoes to sneak in. The living room was neat, the TV off. Kitchen looked normal, sink empty. Something felt odd, though there was a faint noise in the house. A muffled laugh or maybe a gasp. My heart started pounding in a weird way, but I pushed it aside. I held the necklace box behind my back, deciding I'd jump out and say, "Happy anniversary, babe." As I moved up the stairs, the noises got louder. I heard whispering, another laugh, a man's laugh. That's when my brain put the pieces together, but my chest still burned with denial. Surely, I thought, maybe she had a friend over, or a cousin dropping by, but I knew that tone. I recognized that breathless sound from times we'd, you know. My entire body went hot, then cold, like someone poured ice water down my spine. I opened the bedroom door. The first thing I saw was the tangled mess of bedsheets on the floor. Then I saw them. Vanessa, straddling some shirtless guy whose face I'd never seen before. She let out a startled scream. He scrambled, nearly falling off the bed, obviously terrified. And me? I stood there frozen in place, necklace box still clutched in my hand. It's strange the details your mind focuses on when your world turns upside down. I noticed the clock on the nightstand, flashing 12:37 p.m. I remember the pale yellow curtains I'd bought 6 months ago because Vanessa said they brightened the room. And now here she was, cheating on me in broad daylight. She started yelling, "Ethan, Ethan, it's not what it looks like." But it was exactly what it looked like. Everything in me shattered. I tried to speak, but my mouth felt stuffed with cotton. The guy grabbed his jeans and scurried out, throwing me a panicked look. Vanessa scrambled out of bed, not even covering herself, waving her arms, launching into a tirade about how I never came home early. She was more worried about me ruining her day than about the damage she'd caused to our marriage. I felt like I wanted to strangle someone. Instead, I just dropped the necklace box on the floor. The clatter was so loud in my head. My heart hammered so violently I thought I might pass out. She rushed toward me, babbling excuses I couldn't process. "It's just an accident," she lied. "He means nothing. You're overreacting." I stared at her. The betrayal tore through me, but I held it all inside. Anger, disbelief, humiliation. Finally, I managed to say, "Why?" My voice cracked. She avoided my eyes, covering her chest with her arms. She stammered, "It's just we haven't been good. You've been so busy." That's all I heard. Some standard nonsense about me not giving her enough attention. I turned around and walked out. She followed me onto the landing, half-dressed, still begging me not to do anything drastic. She said, "We can work it out, but not right now. You should go cool off." It was the coldness of it that stunned me. She actually told me to leave so they could finish up. That was the line that sank in. Something about that statement unlocked a different part of me. I grabbed my phone from my pocket and dialed a motel nearby. Booked a room, no questions asked. Then I just kept walking out the front door. Vanessa's words followed me. "Don't do anything stupid, Ethan." She wasn't even sorry. That's the thing that stuck with me the most. She was annoyed at me for interrupting her. I sped off, white-knuckling the steering wheel. My breathing felt ragged, chest tight. But as the rage pulsed, a second instinct took over, one that was calmer, more calculating. I'd seen enough clients at the bank get burned by cheating spouses. Maybe somewhere in my subconscious, I already knew what steps I needed to take. By the time I reached the motel, my shock had congealed into a cold, focused fury. I checked in under my full name, but I paid in cash. Didn't want anything to pop up on shared statements. Then I locked myself in that tiny room, stared at the peeling wallpaper. The silence in there was crushing. I thought about Haley and Liam, our 2 kids. They were at school, probably finishing up final classes before summer. Had they guessed anything was wrong between us? Or had Vanessa brought men around them too? The thought made me so angry I felt tears burning my eyes. I sat on the bed, phone in my hand, uncertain if I should call them. But it was our anniversary day. They'd probably call me about dinner plans or something. My mind reeled, pounding with heartbreak, embarrassment, and fury. That's when I realized I was still wearing my wedding ring. It felt like a scorching band on my finger. I yanked it off and clenched it in my fist. Gazing at the cheap gold, I swallowed a thick knot of grief. "What a joke," I muttered. After a while, I placed it on the nightstand just so I wouldn't fling it at the wall. Then I lay back on the squeaky bed, eyes on the ceiling, unable to sleep or cry. Before the day was done, phone calls started. Vanessa's number popped up. I let it ring. Then came text messages, short ones that read, "Come back, let's talk," or "I cleaned up, he's gone, don't be childish." It felt like a million daggers, not an ounce of remorse, just demands. I turned off my phone, heart slamming in my chest like it was trying to break free. My mind began to race, forging a plan. I wasn't some clueless doormat. I'd learned enough about finances to know how to protect myself. She might think I'd just be the devastated husband who pays for her mistakes. But I wasn't going down that easy. That night, as the motel's buzzing neon light flickered through the blinds, I drifted into a shallow sleep. My soul felt gutted, but behind the pain, a new sensation was taking shape. A sense of quiet, methodical resolve. Vanessa might have thought she was calling the shots. She was dead wrong. I woke to the stench of stale cigarettes from the motel carpet and an ache in my back from that rock-hard mattress. At first, I felt disoriented, like I'd had a nightmare that dragged me somewhere gritty and low. Then memories of the previous day smacked me in the face. Vanessa, the other man, our bed. For a minute, I thought I'd never breathe normally again, but something inside me flicked on a survival mode. I'm not sure if it was heartbreak or anger fueling me, but I sat up, rummaged for my phone, and turned it back on. Vanessa's messages started flooding the screen. Lots of them said the same thing in different ways. "This doesn't have to be a big deal. We can move past it if you don't overreact." My blood boiled with each word. She called me childish and dramatic. Then, near the end, she mentioned money, because of course she did. "Don't do anything dumb with our accounts," she wrote. "I already spent a chunk on the new living room set." The nerve. I shook off the disgust and dialed a number I'd saved for emergencies. An attorney who specialized in divorce and family law. Her name was Patricia Liu. The bank had her on retainer for certain high-profile clients. We'd never spoken beyond polite greetings, but I knew she was a killer when it came to protecting assets. I left a voicemail, voice trembling just a bit, explaining I needed an urgent consultation. While waiting for her call back, I opened my laptop and connected to the motel's shoddy Wi-Fi. My bank manager instincts took the wheel. I began transferring personal funds out of our joint account and into a private account she didn't know about, one I'd quietly opened months ago when I first got suspicious about her spending. I never imagined I'd use it this way, but with her brazen cheating, I wasn't about to let her siphon me dry. I worked quickly, scanning through statements, collecting documents, methodically gathering anything that might help me down the line. Then I started exploring bigger steps, setting up an offshore account. The process is complicated, but with my connections in finance, it was simpler than it'd be for most people. I was furious, yes, but that fury made me sharp, not reckless. Patricia Liu called me back around noon. Her tone was brisk. "Ethan, let's talk about your situation." So I told her the short version. Caught Vanessa cheating, worried about financial fallout, uncertain about custody possibilities. She listened, occasionally throwing in an which was oddly comforting. It made me feel I wasn't crazy for wanting to protect myself. Her advice was straightforward. Gather all evidence. Save every text she sends you. Don't do anything violent or threatening. Keep receipts. If there's a possibility she's been unfaithful for a while, we can use that to your advantage, especially if it affects the children's environment. But do not tip her off about legal steps. I nodded to myself, adrenaline spiking. She told me to email her the relevant financial docs, plus any proof of infidelity. I realized at that moment I didn't have real proof, just my eyewitness account. But I suspected if I'd walked in on them once, it probably wasn't the first time. "What about a private investigator?" I asked. Patricia told me that if I wanted to bolster my case, a PI could help confirm a pattern of affairs. The more evidence, the stronger my position. I ended the call feeling a bizarre sense of direction. This was bigger than heartbreak. It was survival. Vanessa was a manipulator, and the more I let that sink in, the more I realized she'd probably spin a story to turn me into the bad guy. My phone started to buzz again, Vanessa. For the first time, I actually picked up. She started rambling about how she was willing to forgive me for storming out, which nearly made me laugh out loud. She said she'd let me come home if I apologized for overreacting. I clenched my teeth. Instead of blowing up, I chose my words carefully. "You're right, we need to talk. But not now, Vanessa. I have work." That was a lie, but let her believe I was still the good old bank manager going through a meltdown. She tried yelling something else. I hung up. I refused to give her the satisfaction of hearing me lose my cool. That afternoon, I spent hours in front of my laptop, cross-referencing everything. I created multiple spreadsheets mapping out all our assets and liabilities, like I was dissecting a major corporate deal. I felt that lethal combination of heartbreak and vengeance. A part of me wondered if I was going down a dark path, but another part, maybe the bigger part, insisted, "She made this bed. If you don't protect yourself, she'll walk away with everything while laughing in your face." At around dinner time, hunger finally cut through my focus. I drove down the street to a nearby diner, the kind with flickering neon signs and chipped counters. I ordered a burger, ate about half. The place was quiet, just a few folks sipping coffee. My mind wouldn't stop churning about how my marriage had collapsed so suddenly. Or maybe it had been collapsing for a long time and I was too busy working to see it. Returning to the motel, the cheap overhead light flicked on, and I felt a pang of loneliness. I missed Haley and Liam. They were both teenagers. Haley was nearly out of high school, Liam a couple years behind. Usually, we'd exchange a quick text or share jokes at the dinner table. Did they blame me for not coming home? Did Vanessa already spin her lies? I scrolled through my phone, seeing old family photos. Liam playing soccer, Haley hugging me on my last birthday. My stomach twisted in knots, but I set the phone aside. Right now, I had to be strong. If Vanessa was feeding them poison, I had to figure out how to keep from losing them forever. But first, I had to keep my finances safe, or I'd be powerless. Late that night, I stared at the dark ceiling, mind racing. I recalled the early days of our marriage. We were young, full of plans. We used to talk about traveling, building a life for our kids that neither of us ever had. But somewhere, she drifted. Or maybe we both did. All I knew was I'd just glimpsed the real Vanessa, and it chilled me to the core. I sank into the lumpy pillows, letting exhaustion take over. My last thought, I'm not giving her a damn penny more than the law requires. Tomorrow I'd lock it down, finalize the new accounts, and maybe even hire that PI. Meanwhile, Vanessa would keep underestimating me. Let her. I wanted the upper hand, and by God I was going to get it. The next few days blurred together in a messy loop of hotel coffee, law firm calls, and sleepless nights. I kept updating Patricia on my progress. More assets stashed safely, copies of relevant documents. She was blunt about the next steps. Once you file for divorce, the fight begins. Expect her to lash out, especially if she thinks she's losing control. I felt a sick ache in my chest every time I thought about the word divorce. But the marriage was already dead. No point denying it. She'd hammered the last nail into the coffin when she brazenly told me to get out so she could keep going with her affair. The anger I felt kept me laser-focused, but the heartbreak lingered, haunting me at odd moments like random memories of last Christmas with Haley, Liam, and Vanessa. We'd seemed happy. On a rainy Thursday afternoon, my phone buzzed with a number I recognized. Haley's school. Immediately, panic rose in me. I stepped outside the motel, the downpour soaking my jacket. A counselor introduced herself, asking if everything was okay at home. Haley had confided in a teacher that Dad left the house. I didn't know what spin Vanessa had put on it, but I had to clarify carefully so it wouldn't backfire. I said, "There's been a situation. I'm not sure what she's told you, but I'm safe. She's safe. It's a family matter." The counselor was polite, ended the call politely too, but it left me feeling hollow. Haley must be so confused. I wanted to race over to her school, scoop her up, tell her the truth. But how do you tell your teenage daughter, "I left because your mom was screwing some random guy in our bed"? I stared at my phone, wanting to call Haley or Liam. But I also knew if I called, Vanessa might intercept. She could twist my words, paint me as some cruel father who abandoned them. My frustration boiled. That's the thing about divorce. Kids always get caught in the middle, even if neither parent wants that. The next morning, Haley herself called. My stomach flip-flopped, seeing her number. I answered, pressing the phone tight to my ear. "Dad?" she said, voice trembling. My heart broke hearing her so upset. "Why did you leave us? Mom said you couldn't handle real life and just bailed. Are you serious? You're with another woman, right?" That last question stunned me. "What?" "Haley, that's not listen, honey. I'd never bail on you or Liam," I said, forcing calm into my voice. Rain hammered the motel window behind me, echoing my pulse. "It's complicated, okay? Your mother and I are fighting, but it's not about me leaving you. I love you and your brother." She sniffled. "Mom says you're trying to starve us financially. She said you closed the accounts." I had to hold back a surge of anger at Vanessa. "That's not true. I'd never let you or Liam go hungry," I told Haley, swallowing the bitterness. "I'm just protecting myself because your mom, she made a mistake and it's hurting our family. I can't tell you everything, honey, but please know I'm not the bad guy here." She grew quiet, then muttered, "Well, that's not what Mom said, and Liam is mad at you. He feels like you abandoned us." My guts twisted. "Tell Liam I love him, okay?" I said softly. "And tell him I'm not gone for good." Haley didn't respond for a moment, then a shaky exhale. "I don't know who to believe, Dad, but I miss you." That was the last thing I heard before she hung up. I slumped onto the motel bed, holding my phone. This was precisely what I feared, Vanessa turning them against me. My chest burned with resentment. She wasn't just unrepentant, she was using our kids to hurt me. By midday, my mind was made up. I had to escalate. If I wanted any leverage in custody or future visitation, I needed proof of her unfaithfulness and negligence. So that evening, after texting Patricia, I hired a private investigator named Brent Carter. The man's voice was scratchy but confident. "I've handled a lot of cases like yours. We'll find out whatever needs to be found." We met briefly in a coffee shop near the highway. I passed along a recent photo of Vanessa, jotted down details where she worked, her routines, suspicious places. The entire time, my hands shook slightly. I hated turning my life into some clandestine operation, but what choice did I have? If she was parading multiple affairs around my kids, that was enough grounds to push for more favorable terms in any divorce settlement, or at least protect me from her manipulative claims. Vanessa kept sending texts, vacillating between insults and half-assed apologies. Sometimes she wrote, "Stop being a coward, Ethan." Other times, "Come home and let's fix this." Late that night, though, I got a text that said, "You better keep the money flowing, or you'll never see Haley and Liam again." That one that changed everything. She was threatening me with the kids if I didn't keep paying for her lifestyle. My rage nearly exploded. But I took a screenshot, saved it, and emailed it straight to Patricia. She responded with a single line, "Document everything. This is good evidence." It felt disgusting to call it good, but I understood what she meant. Legally, that threat was a huge misstep on Vanessa's part. The following day, I tried to push my heartbreak aside and focus on the bigger picture, protecting my relationship with Haley and Liam. If Vanessa was so careless to text me blackmail, who knew what else she was doing? I clung to the hope that the PI would find proof, someone who'd testify that she was unfit, or at least wildly irresponsible. Maybe then the kids would see the truth. But a heavier reality pressed on me too. Haley and Liam had grown up with Vanessa doting on them, or so they thought. Now I was the one who looked like I'd run away. Collateral damage indeed. My mind circled back to the conversation with Haley, how uncertain and scared she sounded. I wished I could stand outside her bedroom window, just talk to her until she knew I was on her side. But life doesn't work like that. By the end of that night, I sat in the motel chair, watching headlights from passing cars streak across the thin curtains. The sense of betrayal stretched deeper than just my wife's affair. She was using the kids as weapons. I never thought she'd sink this low. My heart felt battered, but a new determination flared. She won't break me. She might twist our kids' minds for a time, but eventually the truth would come out. The phone rang. A quick call from Brent, the PI. "No updates yet, but I'll keep you posted," he said. I heard traffic on his end. Maybe he was out tailing her right then. I pictured him snapping photos of her sneaking around. It gave me a grim sense of satisfaction. She wanted to pretend this was a small mistake, but the stakes were huge. She'd messed with the wrong guy. I flicked the TV on for background noise, but it only reminded me of how empty the room was. I thought about Liam, too quiet for his age. Used to be so enthusiastic about soccer. Did he believe his mom when she said I was heartless? Probably. That cut so deep I could hardly breathe. But I had to swallow the pain and focus on what came next. A plan that ensured I wouldn't be financially ruined or lose my kids forever. I might have dozed off eventually, not sure. But one thought carried me through the restless hours. I'll make damn sure Vanessa pays for her betrayal. And if her arrogance meant she kept rubbing salt in my wounds, that would only fuel my resolve. A week crawled by, each day feeling heavier. Then came the morning I snapped. Actually, snapped might be the wrong word. I didn't yell. I didn't punch walls. It was more like a strategic explosion I carefully orchestrated. It started with a normal routine. Woke up in the motel, dressed in my crisp navy suit for work. I'd been calling in some favors at the bank, so no one wondered why I was living in a motel. But rumors were already circulating. I arrived at the bank, nodded politely at coworkers. It felt surreal that my private apocalypse was colliding with the tidy professional world I'd built. Around 10 o'clock, I strode into the break room. A few colleagues were chatting. That's when I pulled off my wedding ring again. I'd been wearing it on a chain in my pocket for some reason. Maybe habit. I tossed it onto the table. It made a hard clink that drew everyone's attention. One coworker, Darius, blinked at me, said, "Hey man, what's up?" I stared at the ring, my jaw tight. This piece of junk, it's worthless now. Then I grabbed the ring, placed it on the break room counter, and hammered it with the bottom of my thermos. A savage, repeated strike. People gasped. A small dent formed in the gold. Strike, another dent, strike. The ring deformed. My face was hot, but I felt oddly calm. A hush fell as more people gathered. I saw my boss's wide eyes from the doorway, but no one stopped me. They just watched, stunned, as I destroyed the ring. Finally, I flicked it into the trash can and said, "That's that. I'm done." Rumors flew all day. People whispered, "Did you see Ethan?" Holy crap. Some guessed my marriage was over. Some guessed I was going through a midlife crisis. I didn't correct them. By lunchtime, Vanessa had somehow heard about it. Maybe a coworker texted her. She left me a furious voicemail, calling me a show-off, a jerk, threatening to bring you down in court. Her words rolled off my back. Let her threaten. She had no idea how far I was willing to go. That same afternoon, I headed to my office, closed the door, and shut down every joint account we still had open. I left enough money in one separate account for monthly household bills. That's what Patricia advised. The law states, I can't just leave her penniless if we share expenses. But everything else? I froze it, dissolved my portion, or transferred it away. It felt like hitting a switch. The life we'd built as a couple was done. This was the administrative side of heartbreak, all legal and cold. I clicked through each confirmation screen, ignoring the ache in my chest. Once finished, I walked out, ignoring the stares. I was done for the day. I drove straight to see Patricia, handing her a file with every relevant detail. Statements, text printouts, notes from the PI. She skimmed them, nodding. Strong. This will help when we file. You're sure you want to proceed with immediate divorce papers? Yes, I said, no hesitation. My kids might hate me for a while, but I can't let her keep that financial power. It's time. Patricia shook my hand, told me she'd be in touch. By the time I walked out of her office, I felt a strange sense of relief. I was severing myself from Vanessa's manipulative game. That evening, I decided to do one last thing, talk to Haley and Liam face-to-face if possible. I drove to our neighborhood, parking a block away from the house we once shared. My heart pounded as I approached. The lights in the living room were on. I heard muffled music. I wondered if that other man was in there, or if Vanessa was alone. I knocked on the door, feeling tension coil in my stomach. Vanessa answered, wearing tight leggings and a smug expression. She crossed her arms. Bold, showing up here. I kept my voice controlled. I'm here to see my kids. She didn't move. They're not interested. You left, remember? They know you're being spiteful. Why can't you handle me having a life? She was flipping the script. I tried not to let her see how her words stung. Then I saw Haley peek from behind the hallway. She looked worried, eyes darting between us. Dad? She called. I started to step forward, but Vanessa blocked me. Haley hesitated, then turned away, vanishing down the hall. My stomach twisted. Haley, wait! I called, voice cracking. No response. Vanessa smirked. Nice try, now get off my property. She slammed the door. I stood there, fists clenched, feeling like I might break down. But I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of seeing me lose it. So I stepped off the porch, determined to try one more time. I walked around to the side window, planning to knock lightly to get Haley's attention. Instead, I glimpsed Liam in the living room, hugging his knees on the couch. He looked so distant, like a kid who'd lost faith in everything. My heart sank. I tapped on the glass softly. He glanced up, our eyes locked for a moment. I raised a hand, wanting him to come outside, but he just shook his head, sadness etched on his face. Then I heard Vanessa's angry shout from somewhere inside. Liam stood abruptly and left the room. That was it. My attempt to reconnect ended in heartbreak. I trudged back to my car, shivering in the evening chill, tears pricking my eyes. I realized Vanessa had truly done a number on them, turning me into the villain. The desire for revenge grew stronger, but so did the sorrow. My kids were paying the price. I slid behind the wheel, stared at the house for a moment. Then I started the engine, telling myself, enough. I'm not letting Vanessa keep me in this limbo. If she wanted a war, she'd get one, but it would be on my terms. Not just a divorce. I'd make sure she regretted every second of betrayal and manipulation. I drove away from my old neighborhood with the city lights blurring in my peripheral vision. After reaching the motel and tossing my keys on the nightstand, I sank onto the bed. The ring was gone. The accounts were closed. I'd hired a lawyer and a PI. The lines were drawn. Tomorrow, I'd pack up my stuff at the motel and start looking for a better place. Maybe even a new city altogether. Staring at the ceiling, I whispered aloud, "You won't destroy me, Vanessa. You won't take everything I've worked for." The vow echoed in the silent room. She wanted to keep me under her thumb? She was about to learn how methodical I could be when pushed too far. And that's how I ended part one of this twisted journey, storming out of the city as soon as Patricia confirmed the papers were in motion. A scorching sense of purpose drove me forward, fueled by heartbreak and that tiny, flickering spark of hope I might eventually win my kids back. One thing was certain. I wouldn't rest until Vanessa Pierce tasted the consequences of what she'd done. I trudged into my lawyer's office feeling half dead but fueled by a grim sense of purpose. Her name was Patricia Liu, recommended by a client from the bank. She practiced family law for over 20 years and was rumored to be relentless in court, which was exactly what I needed. Her office was perched on the 12th floor of a sleek downtown building. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the city skyline, giving an oddly sterile vibe like we were removed from the everyday world. She greeted me with a sharp nod and gestured for me to sit. "Ethan," she said quietly, "I've been reviewing the financial documents you emailed." I stiffened in the chair, my tie feeling too tight. And your approach is solid. The joint accounts are effectively drained except for basic household funds. Now we need to discuss spousal support, asset division, and potential custody. She tapped a pen against a neat stack of papers. The words felt surreal spousal support for Vanessa, the woman who'd been screwing around in my own bed. But I wasn't naive. The law sometimes favored the spouse who was left behind financially, no matter how badly they'd behaved. My stomach churned. "What are the odds of limiting her claims?" I asked. Patricia smiled in a way that wasn't exactly friendly. It was more like a predator showing teeth. "Infidelity changes things. If we prove Vanessa endangered the stability of the household, a judge might reduce her share. But understand, family courts can be unpredictable. That's why we must be strategic." A knock at the door interrupted us. A paralegal peeked in. "They're ready for you, Miss Liu," she whispered. Patricia nodded, gathering a few folders. "Ethan, follow me. We have a preliminary hearing scheduled to establish temporary support orders." My heart thudded. I hadn't realized it was happening today. She must have expedited the date. We took the elevator down in silence. In the lobby, I caught sight of Vanessa. She stood by the security desk, arms folded, wearing a fitted blazer that screamed money. My money, ironically. The moment she spotted me, her lips twisted into a contemptuous smirk. And she wasn't alone. Beside her was a tall woman in her mid-30s, likely her lawyer. I'd never seen that face before. We ended up in a cramped conference room near the courthouse. Vanessa's lawyer introduced herself as Marjorie Polk, speaking in a smooth, measured tone. "We're here to address immediate spousal support and any child-related issues," she said, glancing between me and Patricia. Vanessa flicked her gaze at me. "I can't pay our mortgage alone," she said flatly. "Ethan refuses to communicate. He emptied the accounts to punish me. Meanwhile, Haley and Liam are stuck in the middle." Something in me trembled with anger, but I forced composure. "I'm paying for the household bills," I corrected. "There's enough for utilities and groceries. If you're in trouble, maybe you should have thought of that before." I stopped myself, pulses of heat flaring inside my chest. I had to remain calm. Patricia stepped in smoothly. "We've set aside funds to cover the children's needs and the mortgage for 6 months. Miss Pierce is free to get a job to supplement her lifestyle." Vanessa's eyes narrowed. She hated that mention of actual work. She used to complain that having a regular job was beneath her after marrying a successful banker. Marjorie tried stirring the pot. "If this goes to trial, a judge might grant Vanessa a substantial share due to the marriage's length. Let's avoid public drama." She eyed Patricia, then me, like we'd find the prospect of a quiet settlement appealing. Honestly, I didn't mind drama if it meant exposing Vanessa's behavior. Patricia shuffled her papers. "We're open to an interim agreement provided Miss Pierce acknowledges there was infidelity and that Ethan should not shoulder all marital debts." Vanessa let out a derisive laugh. "Oh, sure. Let's blame the woman. Typical." I couldn't keep silent. "You had your boyfriend in my bed on our anniversary," I snapped. "Stop acting like I'm some abusive tyrant. You did this." She curled her lip, looking almost bored. "How long are you going to play the victim, Ethan?" she asked. Her brazen attitude raked at my sanity. Patricia calmly adjusted her glasses. "We're done here for now. Let the court set interim terms. We have a robust case, including witness statements if necessary." She hinted at the private investigator, though we hadn't officially submitted that evidence yet. The clerk confirmed a short hearing time had been granted for that afternoon. In the hallway, I felt my heart jackhammering. "Are we prepared for them to start flinging accusations?" I asked Patricia. She nodded. "Yes. Stick to the facts. Don't let your emotions run wild." The hearing itself took place in a stark courtroom with scuffed floors. The judge, a middle-aged man with silver hair, glanced over the statements each side provided. Vanessa claimed I'd abandoned the family without warning. My side showed proof I funded the mortgage and kids' expenses. After some back and forth, The judge established a temporary monthly spousal support figure smaller than Vanessa wanted, but still enough to gnaw at me. He also encouraged me to arrange visitation with Haley and Liam, though that was non-binding. I couldn't shake the bitterness as I left. Out in the corridor, Vanessa caught me alone for a moment. Patricia was busy collecting papers from the clerk. My ex slid right into my personal space, voice low. "You think you're so smart, transferring all that money, but you won't keep me down forever. Haley and Liam see you for the jerk you are." I stared back at her, controlling the urge to lash out. "Don't talk to me unless it's about the kids," I said evenly. "As for your threats, do what you gotta do. But you won't see me break." She laughed softly. "We'll see, Ethan. We'll see." Then she pivoted and marched off, heels clacking on the tile. A sour taste filled my mouth. I reminded myself, this was only the first confrontation. I couldn't lose my head. So I found a quiet bench outside, let the humid air wash over me, and forced myself to breathe. Patricia joined me. "We did well," she said. "Minimal spousal support is a win compared to what she asked for." I nodded, though it didn't feel like a victory when I thought about how twisted the situation had become. Before I left, Patricia gave me a list of tasks. Gather more documentation, remain vigilant for any curveballs from Vanessa's lawyer, and keep building a timeline of her affairs. "We'll refine our strategy as we move toward a full divorce settlement," she said. "In the meantime, remember, don't engage with Vanessa unless it's absolutely necessary." I drove back to the motel, mind swirling. The day had been exhausting, but part of me was oddly energized. I'd survived the first legal skirmish, and Vanessa hadn't come out unscathed. She seemed rattled, more vicious than before. Good. That might make her careless. That night, I cleared a corner of the motel desk for my new case center files, pictures, any intel about her. A phone beeped with texts from a co-worker, Mark, who'd heard rumors that Vanessa was telling folks I'd physically abused her. The nerve of her. I gripped my phone so tight I nearly cracked it. But I typed a calm reply. "Not true. Let her talk. I'll handle it legally." Somewhere close to midnight, I gazed at the battered wedding photo I still had in my wallet, Vanessa and me, from a lifetime ago. It struck me how easy it was for her to spin tales. She used to joke about how she could charm anyone. The difference now was that I wasn't hypnotized by her illusions. If she wanted a war of words, I had better ammo the truth, plus the best legal counsel I could find. Flicking off the lamp, I let the darkness settle. My next steps were clear. Let her keep underestimating me. Let her push me in court, spread rumors. I'd keep collecting evidence, keep my temper in check. Because when the final hearing rolled around, I'd be ready to deliver the blow that would leave her reeling. That next week, I found myself pacing in the corner booth of a quiet diner. Brent Carter, the private investigator, had asked me to meet him there. The place smelled of burnt coffee and fried eggs. I was on my third cup of coffee, nerves humming with anticipation. If this meeting went well, I'd have real ammunition against Vanessa. Brent showed up wearing a rumpled jacket and jeans, a camera bag slung over his shoulder. He slid into the booth and gave me a curt nod. "Ethan," he said, voice gravelly, "got interesting stuff for you." I noticed a slight grin beneath his salt and pepper stubble. He liked this job more than he probably should. "I followed your ex-wife, soon like you said. It started slow. She visited a few bars, met up with random men, but it got juicy when one of the guys turned out to be Charles Drummond. Recognize the name?" My brow creased. Charles Drummond was a local real estate developer with a big name in the region. I'd seen him at some charity gala once. Married with 2 kids, if I recalled. Brent scratched his jaw. "Your Vanessa's been seeing him on the side, meeting at a mid-range hotel near the highway. She also has another fella, some fitness trainer named Justin. And that's not even counting the random nights she picks up new flings." A cold knot settled in my stomach. I knew she was cheating, but the sheer scale of it floored me. "You have proof?" I asked, forcing my tone to remain even. He pulled out a small folder from his bag, sliding it across the table. Inside were grainy photos, Vanessa and Charles entering a hotel room, time-stamped for a weekday morning. Another shot of them leaving hours later, hair disheveled. And more photos of her hugging or kissing different men in dimly lit parking lots. "I can supply more detail if you want." but that folder is enough to demonstrate a pattern of behavior. I flipped through them, feeling a weird mix of disgust and triumph. This could blow up in Charles's face, too, I said. He's got a family. He's also got a reputation he likes to keep squeaky clean. I recalled him boasting at the gala about his philanthropic endeavors. Meanwhile, he was hooking up with my soon-to-be's wife. Brent eyed me carefully. That might give you leverage, but be careful. Drummond's powerful and can get nasty if cornered. Also, your wife's hooking up with multiple men, good for our case, but don't expect her to fold easily. She might double down, paint herself as the victim, or claim you're smearing her. I mulled that over, swallowing the bitterness in my throat. Let her try, I murmured. I just want enough evidence so she can't claim I'm the one at fault. Brent nodded. One more thing. I've overheard her phone calls. She brags about how she'll secure a big settlement in court. She's telling some men that once she gets your money, they can live in style. She also threatened to make up some domestic violence angle if you pushed her. So be prepared. My jaw tightened. She's serious about lying to get more money then. He shrugged, sipping the diner coffee. Wouldn't surprise me. She seems pretty brazen. My phone buzzed. Patricia had texted, "Any updates from PI?" I typed back quickly, "Yes, big evidence. We'll fill you in." Then I thanked Brent. We discussed fees. He handed me an invoice. "I'll keep an eye out in case she does anything else scandalous," he offered. I agreed, paying him on the spot. We parted with a handshake under the diner's flickering neon sign. Driving back to the motel, I stared at the photos at each red light. The affair with Charles Drummond spelled scandal for them both. For me, it spelled advantage. The court might not care about morality in every detail, but it sure wouldn't favor a spouse who was constantly flaunting multiple affairs in front of her own kids. If I could show that Vanessa's environment was morally questionable, it might help with child-related rulings. More than that, it gave me a private sense of satisfaction. She'd get no clean break if I had anything to say about it. At the motel, I spread the pictures on the bed like puzzle pieces. My breath came fast, a swirl of anger mixing with an odd sense of closure. She was unstoppable in her infidelity, it seemed. For a moment, I thought about Haley and Liam. What if they found out their mom was hooking up with half the city? The guilt weighed on me. I wanted them to stay out of the crossfire, but Vanessa refused to respect boundaries. I decided to call Patricia. She picked up with that no-nonsense voice of hers. "Hello, Ethan. You have new evidence?" "Plenty. Photos with multiple men, including a local big shot, Charles Drummond." I could almost hear her arch an eyebrow over the phone. "He's well known. This might get complicated if he fights back, but it's definitely leverage. Let's incorporate it into our approach, especially for the final settlement." We arranged a strategy meeting for the next day at her office. My head buzzed with 1,000 thoughts after hanging up. I glimpsed Vanessa's text from earlier, something about kids' tuition. She was probably twisting the story to Haley and Liam that I was a deadbeat. Meanwhile, she was living it up. Sighing, I typed a measured reply. "The children's expenses are covered. Check your account." Short and simple. No reason to feed her drama. My phone chimed with another message, this time from Liam. Or so I thought. Turned out it was him, but the tone was distant. "Mom said you're cutting us off. Is that true?" My throat tightened. I tried to respond carefully. "I would never cut you off, bud. The mortgage is paid, the bills are paid, and there's food money. If you're not getting it, ask your mom." He didn't text back. The silence gutted me, but I had no choice except to keep forging ahead. That night I set my alarm for 6 in the morning. Sleep refused to come easily, but eventually I drifted off, dreaming of a hazy future where I stood in a courtroom, brandishing those pictures of Vanessa. In the dream, I saw Haley and Liam in the gallery, confusion on their faces. I woke in a sweat, heart pounding, still uncertain how to shield them from all this ugliness. Yet I found new resolve flickering inside me. I was done tiptoeing around Vanessa's manipulations. She wanted to act unstoppable? Fine. Let her unstoppable arrogance be the rope she'd eventually hang herself with in court. If she kept rummaging for ways to humiliate me, well, I now had enough hard proof to shatter that facade. She was the one who lit this fire. All I had to do was fan it until the flames consumed her carefully curated image. I arrived at the bank early the next morning, forcing a polite smile at coworkers as if everything was business as usual. In truth, I'd hardly slept, my thoughts spinning with the P, his findings. But I had more pressing tasks, like finalizing the labyrinth of accounts and trusts I'd set up to keep my assets beyond Vanessa's reach. Mark, one of my fellow managers, poked his head into my office. "Hey, bud, you got a minute?" I nodded, waving him in. Mark was a decent guy, a little chatty but reliable. He sat down, looking sympathetic. I heard about the scene in the break room last week," he said softly, referring to me smashing my wedding ring. "Everybody's been talking. Some folks said your wife's spreading rumors you were the cheater or even violent." My gut clenched. "Of course she is," I muttered. "Thanks for letting me know. Don't worry, I have a plan." Mark gave me a small smile. "I figured you would. Just watch your back. Word on the street is your soon-to-be ex has some big supporters who think you're the bad guy." He stood, patting my shoulder. "If you need any help, you know where to find me." After he left, I locked my office door and opened a hidden folder on my computer. Inside were spreadsheets detailing every trust, foreign account, and new corporation I'd created in the last month. When you work in finance as long as I have, you learn how to do it quietly and legally, especially if you suspect your spouse might try to milk you dry in a divorce. It felt a bit dirty, like I was turning into the very type of cunning businessman I used to criticize. But desperation does that to a man. Between coffee refills and phone calls, I oversaw the final steps. I'd assigned certain properties to a shell corporation where I was the sole beneficiary, ensuring Vanessa wouldn't see a cent if she tried to claim those assets. Another chunk of money was in an offshore account in the Cayman Islands, nothing illegal, but certainly not advertised. By midday, I had confirmation that each piece was locked. My mind eased, thinking, if she tries to come after me for more than the basics, she'll be disappointed. Around lunchtime, I noticed an internal email from the bank's legal team about an upcoming event. I planned to skip it, but a name caught my eye: Donovan Miller, my direct boss's boss. Word was, Donovan's wife recently divorced him, citing infidelity on his end. He lost half his fortune and half his 401k. People joked about how he got Donovaned. The rumor was that his soon-to-beeks had an infidelity clause in their prenup. Donovan was paying for it dearly. Reading that email, I had a small flicker of empathy for the guy, ironically. At the same time, it validated my extreme caution. If someone as high up as Donovan could be destroyed by a hidden clause, then Vanessa, with the right legal angle, could also be hammered by her own hypocrisy. She might have planned to drain me, but I had no illusions the moral high ground in court, plus my well-crafted finances, put me in a far safer spot. By early evening, I left the bank, heading straight to Patricia's office for our strategy meeting. She was waiting in the conference room, tapping a pen against a stack of documents. "Good to see you, Ethan," she said without looking up. "Let's talk about these new PI photos, and bring me up to speed on your asset shelters." I gave her the short version, how Brent Carter found evidence of Vanessa's multiple lovers, including Charles Drummond, and how I'd restructured my holdings. Patricia's eyes glinted with approval. That's excellent news on both fronts. The more we show she's been parading affairs around, the less sympathetic she'll appear to a judge, especially if she tries playing the victim. We spent the next hour detailing possible approaches to settlement negotiations. Patricia hinted that if Vanessa's team caught wind of us having dirt on Drummond, they might try to settle quickly, avoiding public scandal. "Vanessa's arrogance is our greatest weapon," Patricia mused. A buzzing from my phone startled me. I glanced down, a text from Liam. My heart jumped. "Dad, we need money for groceries," it read. I frowned. I had already allocated funds for living expenses. Was Vanessa withholding them from the kids just to paint me as the villain? I texted back, "There's money in the joint household account. Check with your mom. Are you okay?" No answer. I clenched my teeth, feeling that stab of helplessness again. Patricia noticed the shift in my expression. "You all right?" "Just the kids," I admitted. "Vanessa's messing with them, making it look like I'm not providing." She tapped her pen. "We'll address that at the upcoming hearing. Judges hate seeing kids used as pawns." A knock at the door made us glance up. A junior associate stepped in, a bit flustered. "Miss Liu, you might want to see the local news site. Something about Charles Drummond being named in a rumored affair." She handed Patricia her phone. My lawyer's eyebrows shot up. It's vague, but it's definitely pointing toward him hooking up with an unnamed married woman, the associate said. Could be your case if word spreads. Patricia handed the phone to me. The article was short, no names beyond Drummond, but it spoke of ongoing legal entanglements. My stomach twisted. If Drummond suspected it was me behind this exposure, he might lash out. On the other hand, maybe it was just random gossip. Regardless, it strengthened our stance. Drummond's probably panicking, which might make Vanessa panic too. We ended the meeting with Patricia's final instructions. Keep gathering financial records. Let the PI keep watch, and do not speak to Drummond if he contacts you. Redirect all communication to me. I drove away thinking about how far I'd come in just a few weeks, emotionally battered, but increasingly sure-footed. The moral lines were blurry. I was using every trick in the book to protect myself, from offshore accounts to leveraging humiliating evidence. Part of me worried about crossing some line. But I reminded myself, she started this war. I'm just making sure I don't come out in pieces. That night, I found a wave of exhaustion settling in. Over a microwave dinner in my motel room, I gazed at the swirl of printouts on the table. Bank statements, legal docs, PI photos, trust agreements. It looked like a twisted tapestry of a marriage gone horribly wrong. The strangest part, I didn't feel all that sad anymore. I felt determined. The heartbreak was morphing into a razor-sharp drive for survival and maybe just a little payback. Before bed, I sent a quick update to Brent. Stay alert for any new developments. Let me know if Vanessa meets Drummond again. Then I killed the lights. Lying there in the dark, I recalled the day I'd married Vanessa, how I thought it was the start of something perfect. Instead, it led here to a battlefield of lawyers, hush-hush affairs, and cunning. For now, I'd keep forging ahead step by step because the final showdown was looming, and I planned on winning. 2 weeks passed in a tense blur. Patricia filed a formal petition for divorce, listing irreconcilable differences and strongly implying Vanessa's repeated infidelities. Vanessa's lawyer, Marjorie, filed a countersuit, claiming I'd been emotionally neglectful. The swirl of legal motions set the stage for a full divorce hearing that the court scheduled for a Friday morning. On the day of the hearing, I arrived at the courthouse before dawn. The halls were mostly silent, an eerie hush before the day's drama unfolded. I thought about my kids, the friendlier moments we once had, movie nights, Sunday breakfasts. All overshadowed now by Vanessa's twisted narrative. My pulse pounded with anger and sorrow, but I forced myself to exhale, to focus. Patricia showed up with a calm efficiency, arms cradling thick files. "Morning, Ethan," she greeted. "Ready?" "As ready as I'll ever be," I murmured, smoothing my tie. I'd chosen a dark suit to project seriousness. When the session opened, the judge, an older woman named Judge Rodriguez, didn't waste time. She read out the case summary, then invited each side to present. Vanessa and her lawyer tried going first, painting me as a distant spouse who chose work over family, leading Vanessa to seek emotional support elsewhere. I noticed how Vanessa avoided the word affair, aiming to minimize her cheating. Patricia countered with a cool delivery of the PI photos, laying them on the evidence table. The hush in the courtroom was almost deafening. You could see the judge's eyes flicking over shots of Vanessa walking into hotels with different men. A slight crease formed on Judge Rodriguez's brow. Vanessa's face flushed with anger, or maybe embarrassment. The hush was broken when Marjorie coughed, trying to distract from the scandal. Patricia didn't stop there. She methodically referenced text messages, some courtesy of Brent's eavesdropping, where Vanessa boasted about bleeding Ethan dry. Each detail was a fresh nail hammered into Vanessa's posture of innocence. The tension in the courtroom felt like thick fog. Finally, the judge turned to me. "Mr. Pierce, do you have anything you wish to say about your intentions for child support and spousal support?" My throat felt tight, but I spoke steadily, reciting what Patricia and I had rehearsed. "I have never neglected my children, Your Honor. I've maintained their household bills, left enough funds for their daily needs. As for spousal support, I argue that Vanessa's repeated infidelities and her attempts to manipulate our finances should reduce, if not eliminate, that requirement." Vanessa glared, but I refused to meet her eyes. Let the evidence speak. The judge took a brief recess to review everything. I wandered into the hallway, heart hammering. Patricia stayed behind, organizing papers. As I paced, I caught a glimpse of Vanessa leaning against the far wall, arms crossed, eyes ablaze. We locked gazes. She looked ready to spit venom, but didn't speak. Another man in a suit stood near her, one of her boyfriends, maybe, or just a family friend. Hard to tell. When court resumed, Judge Rodriguez cleared her throat. In light of the overwhelming evidence of Miss Pierce's extramarital relationships, and considering Mr. Pierce's documented financial provisions for the children's well-being, the court finds Miss Pierce less entitled to extended spousal support. Child support remains a separate matter. Mr. Pierce will pay a set sum each month per guidelines. But spousal support is effectively minimal. A wave of relief rushed through me. The judge's voice continued. Additionally, the marital assets will be divided, but not to Miss Pierce's initial request. She claimed half of all property, yet Mr. Pierce's restructured finances show clear delineation of separate assets. Miss Pierce will retain the primary residence, though Mr. Pierce has an option to sell or disclaim partial ownership in exchange for an offset. My head spun with the specifics, but the gist was, I wasn't losing everything. Vanessa's face turned red as she realized the outcome wasn't in her favor. In that moment, I decided to do one last dramatic move. I reached into my jacket pocket, pulled out a sealed envelope. Patricia arched a brow, but I gave the faintest nod we had planned a statement. I stepped forward before the judge concluded. Your Honor, I've prepared a one-time child support sum for the next several years, ensuring my kids' futures are secured. Then I approached Vanessa's table and handed her the envelope. She opened it and stared at the check. Her lips twitched as she read the memo line I'd scrawled. Paid in full, don't come back. She shot to her feet, eyes aflame. Ethan, you piece of... she snarled. But the judge slammed her gavel lightly. Order, Judge Rodriguez said, voice stern. The hearing wrapped up. The judge granted the final settlement terms. Vanessa's arrogance had crumbled. She looked like she wanted to flip a table but forced herself to remain silent. I felt a mix of triumph and sorrow. The kids would stay with her for now. They were angry at me thanks to her manipulations. But financially and legally, I just pulled off a masterful defense. If she tried to extort me again, she'd fail. Afterwards, outside the courtroom, I paused near the marble pillars, inhaling the stale courthouse air. Patricia whispered, That was bold, Ethan, but it sealed the message. You're done playing. I exhaled. I am. Completely. From the far side of the hallway, I saw Vanessa fling the envelope into her bag, face pale with fury. Her lawyer tried to calm her, but it was no use. She stomped out, probably plotting new ways to stir my life. Let her try. I'd built my walls. Patricia handed me a copy of the court's decision. You'll have to keep paying the set child support monthly, but you're in control of spousal support. It's nominal. Congratulations, in a sense, though I know it's bittersweet. Bittersweet indeed. I'd clawed my way to a settlement that prevented Vanessa from sinking me financially, but my kids still believed her lies. As I left the courthouse, cameras were nowhere to be found. Apparently Drummond or any other big player had steered clear of testifying. But inside me, a quiet victory sang. I'd shown her that I wasn't the pitiful husband she could walk all over. By evening, I returned to the motel, sinking onto the bed with a long sigh. The phone lay silent. No messages from Haley or Liam. My chest tightened. The finality of it hit me. I was free from Vanessa's financial grip, but not from the heartbreak of losing my kids' trust. Outside, the neon sign blinked relentlessly. I flicked on a dim lamp and stared at the settlement paperwork. Guess that's that, I mumbled to myself. The next day, I'd pack my belongings, check out, and what? Maybe relocate. Start over somewhere else, away from the rumors, the gossip, the toxic environment. My mind drifted to that possibility, imagining a fresh city, new faces, a place where I could heal without Vanessa looming over me. Slowly, my eyes slid shut, exhaustion claiming me. So ended my final war with Vanessa in court. I was battered but intact. She was outraged and humiliated but still holding our kids. For now, I might be leaving the city, but one truth remained: I'd never forgive her betrayal, and I'd make sure she regretted underestimating me for the rest of her life. With that ominous vow in my heart, I prepared to walk away from the only home I'd known as an adult, determined to forge a new path, one that didn't include the shackles of a broken marriage or the vicious manipulations of a cheating wife. I drove into Charlotte before the sun rose, headlights slicing through a quiet darkness. The city's skyline glowed in the distance, banks and high-rises glittering under early dawn. Part of me felt hopeful, the other part felt haunted. I'd left my old life behind, finalizing the divorce and selling my stake in the family house. My kids, Haley and Liam, stayed with Vanessa. They were angry at me, believed I'd abandoned them. The memory still stung, but I told myself this move was for survival. I'd landed a position as regional manager at one of Charlotte's top banks, an offer that came right on time. Honestly, work was all I had left. My new boss, Angela Denton, greeted me at the building's glass entrance. She was in her 50s, with short graying hair and an efficient smile. "Welcome aboard, Ethan," she said. "We're lucky to have you." Her warmth eased my nerves. Inside, the bank's lobby pulsed with modern energy. Sleek steel counters, large digital displays. Angela led me upstairs to my new office, a corner space with windows overlooking the busy streets. I set my briefcase down, took a breath, and tried not to think about the hotel I'd just checked into. It felt depressingly familiar to living out of motels back when the divorce started. But maybe Charlotte could be a fresh start. Within an hour, I was buried in orientation briefings, corporate policies, and staff introductions. My phone buzzed with a text from an old friend back home saying, "Vanessa's at it again, hooking up with random guys. People say she's broke." I felt a bitter twinge, half satisfied to see her unravel. But behind that satisfaction lurked emptiness. She could self-destruct all she wanted meanwhile. I'd lost the chance to see my own kids grow up. Days passed in a blur of corporate tasks. I'd tour branch offices, meet local account managers, review performance metrics. At night, I'd slump into the bed at the small suite the bank rented for me, flipping channels aimlessly. The city outside thrived with restaurants and nightlife, but I avoided it. I preferred the hush of my makeshift living quarters, sipping store-bought whiskey to calm the swirl in my head. Every few days, my phone lit up with gossip from people back in my old town. Vanessa is short on rent, might lose the house. Or she's skipping out on random bar tabs, got thrown out again. I told myself not to dwell. She could face the consequences alone. Yet the news always left me with a queasy pit in my stomach because Haley and Liam were stuck in that chaos. If they called me tomorrow, I'd answer in a heartbeat, but they didn't call. One afternoon, Angela invited me to a meet and greet with the leadership team. We gathered in a glass-walled conference room. I recognized a few names from internal memos: Carlos, the CFO, and Jessica, the lead of marketing. They peppered me with friendly curiosity. I gave carefully edited answers about my past. I did mention a divorce, but with no messy details. Just enough so they knew I was starting fresh. After the meeting, I retreated to my office, focusing on the new project, overseeing expansions into neighboring regions. The tasks consumed my days, which was a relief. In those quiet moments after 6 p.m., though, guilt gnawed at me for leaving the kids behind in that toxic environment. My rational side reminded me, I tried. They refused my calls, and legally, the court gave primary custody to Vanessa. I had no fight left for a custody war. A month flew by, and I gradually found a sense of routine. Waking early to hit the gym, maybe punishing my body to keep my mind in check, then long days shaping the bank's operations. Angela occasionally teased me, "Ethan, you're too intense. You should join us for happy hour." I always declined, saying, maybe next time, though next time never came. But I could tell people noticed my isolation. A coworker in HR, Donald, once said, "Charlotte's a great city, man. Don't hole up in the office." He was right, but I felt like letting anyone in might tear open old wounds. I had built thick walls since the day I walked in on Vanessa's betrayal. At night, I monitored certain websites for any sign that Vanessa might try to drag me back into court. Instead, I discovered how quickly rumors spread that she was flirting with local petty criminals. 2 of them had records. I'd half expected her to chase wealthy men, but apparently her life was on a downward spiral. Did she realize I tracked her from a distance? Probably not. She was too busy blaming me for everything. There were moments I smirked at the cosmic justice, but it was a hollow triumph. Still, in my darkest moments, I replayed memories of my marriage's early days, or Haley's first soccer game, or Liam's laughter when I'd do goofy dad stuff. Those memories haunted me in random flashes. Once, around 2 a.m., I caught myself crying soft tears that I quickly wiped away. That was the night I realized revenge wasn't enough. I craved some kind of real closure, but I had no idea how to get it. Then came an unexpected phone call from Mark, an old colleague from my previous bank. He asked how the new job was. I told him it was good. He paused and said, "You know, it's okay to find something besides work to live for, right?" I almost laughed, but the comment hit a nerve. Maybe I needed more than spreadsheets and revenge fantasies. Maybe I had to figure out how to be a human again. The next morning, I forced myself to accept Angela's lunch invitation. She introduced me to more staff, local community leaders, small business clients. I played nice, wearing the professional mask, but something inside me stayed numb. Maybe I was beyond saving. That weekend, I tried exploring Charlotte's bustling uptown area on foot. The sidewalk teemed with couples, families, and groups of friends. I felt out of place, wandering alone amidst laughter. The city's vibe was lively, full of music from street performers, the scents of food trucks. A pang of longing rippled through me. If life had gone differently, I might have been here with Haley and Liam, sampling weird pastries or letting them ride electric scooters. Instead, I walked alone, returning to my quiet suite. I told myself I'd remain a ghost, no strings, no attachments. I'd watch from the sidelines and bury the heartbreak under piles of data. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. The next step in my life was waiting just around the corner, though I couldn't see it then. If I had known how drastically things would change, maybe I would have walked into that corner office with a bigger heart. But as it stood, I was still half dead inside, fueled by the shadows of betrayal. That sense of hollowness would only last so long. The winds of change were stirring in Charlotte, and I was about to collide with someone who'd crack my armor, someone who had her own heartbreak hidden behind a non-nonsense facade. Her name was Selena Torres, though at that time I had no clue she even existed. The day I met Selena Torres started with a half-spilled coffee. I was rushing to a team briefing, juggling my travel mug and a stack of performance reports. Right as I swung open the conference room door, I nearly bowled over a petite figure stepping out. My coffee sloshed, splattering her navy blouse. She froze, eyes wide, while I mumbled a curse under my breath. "I'm so sorry," I said. The woman looked down at the damp cloth and then back at me, eyebrows arched in an expression that mixed annoyance with forced politeness. She had caramel brown hair pinned in a low bun, a fierce glint in her eyes. "It's fine," she muttered, though her tone implied it was anything but. One of my coworkers, Jessica, chimed in, "Selena, this is Ethan, our new regional manager." That's when I realized she was part of the finance department I didn't often interact with. Selena nodded briskly and walked off, presumably to clean up. I watched her retreating form, feeling a strange tug in my chest. Usually I kept my distance, but something about her exasperated glare felt oddly refreshing, like she wasn't afraid to call me out. Later that day, I found her in the staff lounge, dabbing her stained blouse with a wet paper towel. Hey," I ventured. She gave me a sideways glance. "Here to spill more coffee?" Her voice had an edge, but I caught the faintest hint of a smirk. With a small grin, I said, "Actually, I came to apologize properly. Let me pay for the dry cleaning, or—" She waved me off. "It's a cheap blouse, I'll survive. But next time, look where you're going, boss man." Her bluntness startled me. People usually tiptoed around me because of my position. "Deal," I said. After an awkward pause, I offered my hand. "Ethan Pierce. Suppose we should do a Doover introduction." She eyed my outstretched hand as though deciding if I was worth it, then finally shook it. "Selena Torres, Senior Analyst in Finance. I handle the Southeastern accounts." We ended up chatting by the coffee machine, the conversation stiff at first. I learned she had joined the company about a year ago and was known for her sharp analysis. She was also fiercely protective of her time. My co-worker Jessica had called her the unstoppable number cruncher. I felt an odd pull to keep talking, maybe because she didn't treat me like a big shot. Before I could get more out, Angela stuck her head in, motioning for me to join a client meeting. Selena excused herself, voice clipped. "We'll talk later if you're not too busy." With that, she was gone. I stood there, perplexed by her brazen attitude and noticing the flutter in my chest. It was something I hadn't felt in a long time: curiosity about another person. Usually, I just went through the motions. That night, as I worked late, scanning spreadsheets in my lonely office, a presence made me jump. Selena appeared in the doorway. "Angela said you needed the southeastern forecast numbers?" She stepped in, dropping a manila folder on my desk. "Everything's in there." I flipped through the pages, nodding. "Thank you. This'll help with next week's regional overview." She lingered, arms folded, scanning my office. "You always stay this late?" "Most nights," I admitted. "Helps me focus." Her lips curved in a faint, wry smile. "No offense, but you look exhausted. Maybe take a break or let someone else handle some tasks." I let out a low laugh. "I'm a little obsessive, I guess." She didn't refute that. She glanced at my bare desk walls, no pictures, no personal items. "You new in town or something?" she asked. "Yeah," I said quietly. "Moved here from another city. Needed a change." A flicker of something crossed her face. Sympathy, maybe. "I get it," she said in a softer tone. Then she squared her shoulders, reverting to her brisk manner. "Well, don't kill yourself with overwork. This bank's big on teamwork, ironically." She left with a polite nod, and I stared after her, heart pounding for no logical reason. The next day, she marched into my office unannounced, brandishing a spreadsheet. "Hey, your data on last quarter's revenue is missing the subset for independent advisors. If you want accurate numbers, you need to factor that in." Her voice held zero hesitation in calling me out. Then she set the corrected chart on my desk. "And your formula in cell D12 is off by one reference row," she added, as if scolding me for a careless error. Normally, I'd bristle if someone pointed out my mistake so bluntly, but from Selena it was strangely refreshing. She had a no-nonsense approach, and behind that, I sensed she wasn't doing it to belittle me, she just believed in accurate data. I apologized, we fixed the files, and soon we were chatting about best practices for synergy between our departments. Somewhere in that conversation, I found myself smiling. Midweek, Angela insisted I attend a small team dinner at a local restaurant. I sat at a round table with colleagues, feeling uncomfortable until I noticed Selena quietly sipping water a few seats away. The atmosphere was lively, people telling jokes about client fiascos. A marketing manager teased me about my near obsession with detail. My standard response would be a polite chuckle. But Selena jumped in, smirking. "Oh, you have no idea. I literally found him in his office at 8 p.m. recalculating the entire southeastern forecast. He's got a problem, folks." The table burst with laughter. Somehow I didn't mind. In fact, I found myself chuckling along. There was a breezy warmth to her banter. She seemed to enjoy watching me squirm just a bit, but she did it with an undercurrent of kindness, like she recognized we were both numbers people, and that meant we had our own brand of intensity. After dinner, as we all filed out, Selena approached me in the parking lot. "Ethan," she said, pausing under a street lamp, "I know we only talk about spreadsheets and coffee disasters, but if you ever need help or just someone to bounce ideas off, my door's open." She sounded sincere, not flirty, just real. I exhaled, realizing the tension in my shoulders. "Thanks. Maybe I'll take you up on that." She nodded, then added with a faint grin, "Also, I promise I won't mention your cell reference error to anyone else. Wouldn't want to tarnish the new manager's image." I laughed softly, feeling an odd tingle at the base of my spine. Deal. Driving home, I replayed the night in my mind. Something about Selena's directness got under my skin in a good way. She didn't tiptoe or treat me like I was made of glass. Maybe I needed that. Maybe it was the first time in a long while that I felt human rather than a bitter shell. Still, I reminded myself, I wasn't looking for anything romantic. My marriage had burned me, left me wary of giving my heart. But Selena wasn't asking for my heart, she was just being real. And for the first time in ages, I found myself wanting to come to work, not just because I needed to bury my sorrow in tasks, but because there was someone there who made me feel less alone. The weeks that followed felt like a slow thaw in my life. Every morning I'd arrive at the bank, half hoping I'd run into Selena so we could trade quick remarks about data sets or how the coffee machine in the break room kept jamming. Our interactions started brief and professional, but beneath those crisp exchanges, a gentle rapport was forming. One evening, after a grueling day of forecasting, I stepped out onto the building's rooftop terrace for fresh air. The skyline shimmered with city lights. To my surprise, Selena was there too, perched on a bench, rummaging through a folder by the faint glow of a phone flashlight. She looked up with mild annoyance, then softened. "Working late again, huh?" I eased onto the bench beside her, leaving a respectful gap. "Same to you. You got spreadsheets up here or something?" She huffed a laugh. I needed a quiet spot to finish verifying some numbers. The office was stuffy. For a moment, we sat in comfortable silence, the hush of traffic below, the buzz of fluorescent lights overhead. A warm breeze rustled. Then, I don't know why, but I blurted, "Did you ever, have a reason you decided to bury yourself in work?" She glanced sideways, eyebrows lifting as though considering how much to reveal. Eventually, she sighed. "I was engaged once. He cheated with my friend. It messed me up. So yeah, I get fixated on work, because its straightforward numbers don't lie to you, you know?" A jolt of empathy surged. I caught my words. Did I want to share? Her eyes, flickering with the distant city glow, invited honesty. "I went through a nasty divorce. My wife, ex-wife, she cheated on me. Lost my kids in the process, in a way. So yeah, burying myself in spreadsheets is easier than dealing with that pain." The moment I said it, my chest tightened. I rarely admitted it out loud, especially not the part about losing my kids, but with Selena, it felt safe. She exhaled slowly, nodding. "So we're kind of the same brand of damaged, huh?" I forced a half-smile. "Guess so. We're like the bitter coffee duo." She actually laughed at that, a soft, genuine sound. The tension broke for a moment, replaced by a sense of shared understanding. A quiet hush fell again. This time it wasn't awkward. We were two people holding bruises that mirrored each other. In the days that followed, that initial bond cracked open more personal conversations. We took our lunch breaks together sometimes, venturing to a salad bar down the street. We'd chat about silly work politics or the weirdness of modern dating, though both of us admitted we were in no rush to jump back into relationships. At times, her eyes clouded with old hurt if she mentioned her ex-fiancé. I recognized the haunted look. It was the same one I saw in the bathroom mirror every morning. I still had nightmares. Some nights I'd dream of walking in on Vanessa again, or losing a custody battle in front of the kids who glared at me with hatred. I'd wake in a sweat, heart hammering. A few times I found myself wanting to text Selena, just to talk. But I held back, uncertain if that was appropriate or if I'd be dragging her into my personal storm. Instead, I started lingering around her desk after hours to pick her brain about financial models. She'd call me out whenever she caught me fishing for more personal talk, but not being direct. "Ethan," she'd say, "if you want to vent about something, just do it. I don't bite." One night, we ended up grabbing dinner at a small Greek place near the bank. The restaurant was cozy with soft Mediterranean music. Over plates of souvlaki and lemon potatoes, we opened up in a deeper way. I told her about how I missed Haley and Liam, how sometimes I felt an ache I couldn't put into words. She listened intently, sipping water, occasionally nodding. Then she explained how her ex-fiance's betrayal made her question her own worth. "I felt stupid, like I should have seen the signs," she admitted. At one point, the conversation took a more intimate turn, still within safe bounds. She recalled how her ex had grown distant physically and emotionally. That struck a chord in me, reminding me of those last few months with Vanessa, how she'd vanish for hours or claim she was just stressed. We shared a brief silence, both of us grappling with old wounds. Yet in that quiet, something warm sparked. She reached across the table, briefly resting her hand on mine. "We can't let them define us," she whispered. My stomach fluttered. I squeezed her hand gently, an unspoken promise that maybe we could help each other heal. It felt borderline romantic, but neither of us was ready to label it. Over the next weeks, we hung out more outside work, going for coffee on weekends, exchanging texts about random daily life stuff. Slowly, our interactions drifted beyond spreadsheets and heartbreak, finding pockets of genuine companionship. She had a wicked sense of humor, quick to tease me about my rigid schedule. In return, I'd poke fun at her obsession with color-coding everything, even her personal budgeting app. Once, a coworker joked in the break room, "Are you two joined at the hip now?" Selena retorted, "If we were, I'd keep him from messing up any more formula references." Everyone laughed. The underlying rumor about us possibly dating floated around, but we never confirmed or denied. We just let it be. To my own surprise, I realized I'd started living for these moments with Selena. Even the simplest things, walking to the parking garage together or trading sarcastic comments about bad coffee, felt like bright spots in an otherwise dark landscape. Sometimes I'd catch her looking at me with a guarded softness, as though she was testing whether I'd abandon her. I got it. We were both on shaky ground. But with every step, I felt a deeper trust forming. During one late-night discussion, we ventured to more personal territory about intimacy. I admitted how my trust issues made it hard to imagine being vulnerable again. She nodded, biting her lip thoughtfully. "Same. It's like, you don't want to let your guard down just to be stabbed in the back." Her eyes flickered with caution. We didn't push further that night, but the conversation stayed with me. Part of me felt an undercurrent of attraction. Hell, if I was honest, I'd fantasized about her. But we both tiptoed around taking it beyond closeness. Maybe we were waiting for a sign it was safe. Little by little, though, walls were crumbling. We'd share a blanket on the office rooftop when it got chilly, huddling close for warmth. We teased each other about who'd handle the coffee run. The empty ache inside me eased whenever she was near. The nightmares about Vanessa lessened, replaced by cautious optimism. It was a slow burn, but it was real. One evening, I locked up my office, intending to head home. Selena waited by the elevator, twirling her keycard on a lanyard. "Hey," I said softly. She turned, meeting my gaze with those deep, curious eyes. Then, in a move that surprised us both, we leaned in and shared a brief, gentle kiss, hesitant, lingering. My head spun. She pulled back, cheeks flushed. "I guess we were due for that," she whispered, lips curving in a shy grin. I couldn't find words, so I just nodded. We rode the elevator down in a companionable silence, hearts pounding. Neither of us declared anything official or used big romantic phrases. But from that moment on, an unspoken agreement formed. We were moving beyond just a safe friendship, carefully, slowly, but definitely more than colleagues. 2 years. That's how long it took for life to shift from the cautious, slow-burning bond with Selena into something resembling genuine happiness. It didn't happen overnight. We inched forward, each step bringing me away from bitterness and into warmth. But somewhere along that journey, we realized we wanted to build a real future together. The start of that second year in Charlotte, Angela Denton recognized my success in expanding the bank's southeastern branches. She promoted me again, granting a handsome bonus. I took Selena out to celebrate at a chic rooftop lounge. We dressed up, she wore a sleek black dress, I had a tailored suit. It felt almost surreal to see ourselves in that light, like a proper couple. A few cocktails in, we ended up strolling through a quiet park, hand in hand. She paused near a small fountain, water shimmering under lampposts. We turned to face each other. My heart hammered as I asked, voice trembling, "Selena, do you ever think about marriage again, after what we both went through?" She lowered her eyes. "Sometimes it scares the hell out of me. But with you, I feel safe, like we can face the world together." My throat tightened. I squeezed her hand, rummaging in my pocket for a ring I'd carried around for a month, unsure of the right moment. That night, under the hush of the park's lights, I found my courage. "We deserve a second chance at happiness," I murmured, sliding the ring onto her trembling finger. She let out a breathless laugh, tears glistening. "Yes," she whispered. Our wedding, a few weeks later, was small and intimate, just a handful of coworkers, local friends we'd made in Charlotte, and Selena's parents flying in from out of state. No fancy church or big reception, just a charming courtyard behind a boutique hotel. I wore a modest navy suit. Selena glowed in a simple ivory dress. As we exchanged vows, my heart ached with a weird mix of joy and sorrow. Joy, because I'd found love that felt real. Sorrow, because Haley and Liam weren't there. I couldn't dwell on that, though. The day belonged to Selena and me. We rented a house in a quieter neighborhood on the south side of Charlotte. It was smaller than some of the places I could have afforded, but it had a neat little backyard and a cozy sunroom. Perfect for us. We painted the walls ourselves, laughing at the splotches we left behind. Late at night, we'd lie in bed, talking about the future. For the first time in a while, I felt an honest excitement about tomorrow instead of dread. 6 months into our marriage, Selena gave me news that made my knees weak. We were sitting in the living room, going over monthly bills, when she held up a small white stick, a positive pregnancy test. "We're having a baby," she whispered, tears shining. My world flipped. The idea of fatherhood again, my last memories, had been overshadowed by losing contact with Haley and Liam. Could I do this right a second time? Selena must have sensed my terror. She placed a gentle hand on my cheek. "You'll be an amazing dad, Ethan. We both learned from our pasts." I swallowed hard, nodding, determined to be present in this child's life, no matter what. The pregnancy months felt like a slow-motion film. Quiet doctor appointments, nights discussing baby names, the swirl of picking out cribs and tiny clothes. Sometimes in the darkness I'd lie awake, heart pounding with fear that history might repeat itself, but Selena's unwavering faith in me soothed those nightmares. She'd whisper, "I'm not Vanessa. We'll do this together." When the time came, Selena gave birth to a girl. We named her Mia, a name Selena had always loved. The hospital room was hushed with emotion. I watched in awe as the nurse placed that tiny bundle in my arms. Mia's little face scrunched up, letting out a soft cry. My eyes blurred with tears. "Hello, sweetheart," I whispered. "I'm your dad." In that moment, a wave of pure love crashed over me, mingled with memories of Haley and Liam as babies. Guilt flickered, I missed them so much. But Mia needed me now, and I vowed not to fail her. Selena, exhausted but beaming, cuddled up next to me. "We're a family," she murmured. My chest tightened with gratitude. As the weeks passed, our home filled with the chaos of a newborn late-night feedings, diaper changes, the sweet cooing of Mia in Selena's arms. Despite the lack of sleep, I found joy in it. I'd hum lullabies, watch her tiny hands grip my finger. Selena was a natural mother, patient and calm. We learned the rhythms of parenthood, stumbling through mistakes but laughing along the way. At times, I wondered about Haley and Liam. Did they know they had a half-sister now? I never heard from them. My phone stayed silent, except for occasional bank-related updates or holiday greetings from coworkers. The scab on my heart ached, but it no longer bled. Slowly, with Mia in my arms, I realized that my life had taken a different route. The revenge portion, my obsession with punishing Vanessa, felt distant, overshadowed by the wonder of a baby's first smiles. Selena's extended family embraced me too. Her parents visited often, fawning over Mia, teaching us old family recipes. Her tia Carmen flew in from Texas, bringing crocheted blankets. I, who once stood alone in a motel room, now found myself surrounded by a warm, bustling circle of new relatives. They had no illusions about my past, but they didn't judge me. They said I was part of their family now, and that was that. One night, while rocking Mia in the living room, I glanced around the house. Framed photos on shelves displayed our wedding day, us painting the walls, Selena's parents with Mia. It hit me how far I'd come since that day I marched out of my old city, vowing to make Vanessa pay. She got her bitter end. I'd heard rumors she was living in a rundown condo, juggling low-paying jobs. My anger had cooled into pity. I'd built something better for myself, forging a new future with Selena. Sure, I still carried scars. Haley and Liam might never forgive me, or so it seemed. But in the hush of that living room, with Mia softly dozing in my arms, I accepted that for the first time in years, I felt genuine peace. The man who once fixated on revenge was learning to let go, even if those old wounds left permanent marks on my soul. Selena appeared in the doorway, hair tousled from a quick nap. She smiled at the sight of me cuddling Mia. Crossing the floor, she leaned down and kissed my forehead. "We'll figure it all out," she said, reading my thoughts without me saying a word. I nodded, tears pricking my eyes. We were forging a second chance, a chance at redemption, and for the first time in a long while, I believed we truly deserved it. I sometimes wondered if my old life had dissolved into thin air, like it was an ugly dream I'd finally outrun. Here in Charlotte, I had Selena, our daughter Mia, and a comfortable home. I'd built a decent circle of friends, mostly through the bank and Selena's extended family. Day by day, I found contentment I once thought impossible. Then, 7 years after I left my former city and my old marriage, a single phone call cracked open that forgotten world. I was in the kitchen, cutting up fruit for Mia's after-school snack. She was almost 8, full of energy, always talking about her new dance class. Selena was at work, finishing a late meeting. The house was quiet except for Mia, humming some pop song. My phone buzzed on the counter with an unfamiliar number. Normally, I'd let it go to voicemail, but something nudged me to answer. "Hello?" I said, tucking the phone between my ear and shoulder as I wiped my hands on a dish towel. A pause, then a trembling exhale. "Dad?" My heart stuttered. That voice, it was older, more mature, but definitely Haley. My mind reeled. I hadn't spoken to her in years. She was my firstborn, the child I'd lost when Vanessa turned her against me. My hand tightened on the phone. "Haley," I managed, pulse hammering. "Is that really you?" She let out a shaky laugh, almost like a sob. "Yeah, it's me. Sorry for calling out of the blue. Dad, I really need to talk to you." I leaned over the kitchen sink, trying to steady my breathing. Mia was in the living room, oblivious. "I'm here," I said quietly, not knowing what else to say. Memories of that last bitter conversation with Haley surged, the one where she believed her mother's lies. "How have you been?" Silence crackled over the line, then she said, "I'm okay. I'm getting married, Dad." The word dad stung in a good way. I closed my eyes. My little girl was old enough to marry. That's huge news," I whispered. "Congratulations." "Thanks. His name is Jason, but that's not why I'm calling exactly." She inhaled, shaky. "I want you in my life again. I miss you, and I want you at my wedding." Her words knocked the air from my lungs. I tried to speak, but no sound came. 7 years. I thought she hated me. My fingers trembled, and I realized I was squeezing the dish towel so hard my knuckles ached. "Haley, my voice rasped. "Of course I want to be there, but you have no idea how much why now?" She hesitated. "It's complicated. Can we talk soon? Maybe I can come see you?" I need to explain everything. About Mom, about me and Liam. Her voice broke, a tangle of guilt and longing. Tears pricked my eyes. I steadied myself, noticing Mia's footsteps pattering close. "Yes," I murmured, stepping into the hallway for privacy. "Yes, come. I live in Charlotte now. I'll text you the address anytime you want." Relief swelled in Haley's voice. She mumbled a faint thanks, then added, "I'm sorry if it's too sudden. But I realize life's short, and I can't keep avoiding the truth." Jason encouraged me to call, actually. "Dad, I love you." The last words came out unsteady, like she was testing them. My throat constricted. "I love you too, Haley," I whispered, eyes stinging with tears I tried to blink away. Always have. We hung up not long after, promising to plan a visit. I stood there, shell-shocked. Mia appeared in front of me, big, curious eyes. "Daddy? Who was that?" she asked, nibbling a piece of apple. My heart ached. Mia knew vaguely that I'd had an ex-wife and older kids, but she was too young for all the details. "It was your sister," I said softly, kneeling to look her in the eyes. "She might come visit us soon." Mia tilted her head. "I have a sister?" Her face lit with excitement. "Really?" I ruffled her hair. "Yes, sweetie, you do. She's older than you, and we lost touch for a while." I forced a reassuring smile. But maybe that's changing. That evening, Selena returned home to find me pacing. I told her about Haley's call, my words rushing out in a tumble of disbelief, fear, hope. Selena set down her purse, brow creased with concern. "How do you feel?" she asked, guiding me to the couch. "I feel everything," I admitted. "I'm happy she reached out, but I'm terrified. What if it's another trap from Vanessa? Or if Haley's still furious and this is some test?" My old bitterness flared, that anxiety that Vanessa's manipulations were never truly gone. Selena took my hand, warm and steady. "She said she misses you. That's not nothing. But I get your worries. Vanessa might still be stirring trouble. We'll be careful. She pressed her forehead to mine, a comforting gesture. Just remember, this is Haley's choice. She's an adult now. We sat there in silence with Mia crawling into Selena's lap, giggling. Our little family had been cozy, intact. Now the door of the past was swinging open, letting old ghosts breeze in. Yet I felt a fragile sense of hope. My daughter wanted me back in her life. Over the next few days, Haley and I exchanged texts, clumsy, hesitant lines. She sent me a photo of herself with Jason. She had grown into a confident young woman, her smile a mix of nerves and excitement. I noticed sadness in her eyes, though, something unresolved. She wrote, "Mom doesn't know I'm reaching out." She'd flip out. That old anger toward Vanessa clenched my gut, but I tried to focus on Haley's courage in contacting me. Selena encouraged me to set boundaries in case Vanessa tried anything, but I was too elated at the chance to reconnect to weigh every risk. I told Haley, "Come visit next weekend. Stay with us if you want." She agreed, sounding anxious yet determined. Late one night, I lay in bed, Selena dozing beside me, her arm draped across my chest. The soft hush of our home lulled me, but my mind spun with memories. I pictured toddler Haley laughing in my arms, then that final argument when she believed her mother's lies. Regret pooled in my throat. If this was a second chance, I couldn't blow it with old rage. I'd have to approach it gently, accept that we had a lot to heal. Just as my eyelids grew heavy, I heard Mia's little feet padding into the room. She'd had a bad dream. Selena murmured, half asleep, letting Mia crawl between us. In the dim glow of the hallway light, I watched my daughter nestle in, safe and loved. My heart twisted, thinking of Haley's childhood. Could I offer her comfort now, or was it too late? I buried my nose in Mia's hair, inhaling that sweet warmth, praying my older daughter would find a home in my life again. The next morning, I texted Haley, "We're ready for you whenever you're comfortable. I'm proud of you." She replied with a heart emoji and said she'd see me next weekend. Butterflies fluttered in my stomach. 7 years of silence. Now a single week until I'd see my daughter again. Selena noticed me scanning the living room, rearranging furniture like a nervous host. She placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "It's going to be okay," she whispered, leaning in to brush her lips against mine. The gentle kiss calmed me, a reminder that I had someone steadfast in my corner. Still, I couldn't help imagining every possible scenario. Haley arriving in tears, or anger, or regrets, or with secrets about Vanessa. "Let's just take it slow," Selena advised. "Focus on listening to her, not dredging up blame." I nodded, hugging her tight. Even though I'd moved on from my revenge, ghosts of bitterness lingered in my soul. But for Haley's sake, I'd bury them deep. She was my daughter, and I'd do anything to repair that bond, even if it meant facing the old wounds that never fully healed. That Saturday morning, I felt like a ball of nerves. I kept walking laps through the house, checking if the guest bedroom was set up, if we had enough snacks in the fridge. Selena teased me. "Ethan, you'd think the Queen of England was coming." "No," I murmured, forcing a smile. "Just my daughter." And that meant more to me than I could put into words. Mia sensed the excitement, too. She kept running to the window, peeking for a car pulling up. "When's my sister coming?" she asked, eyes shining with curiosity. We'd explained to her that Haley was older and lived far away, but she didn't grasp the complexity of the situation. All Mia knew was that she had a big sister. Finally, a compact sedan pulled in front of our house. The passenger door opened first, and a man emerged, Jason, presumably. Tall, dark-haired, wearing a polite smile. Then the driver's side opened, and Haley stepped out, smoothing her shirt with trembling fingers. She glanced up at the house with a tentative expression. I stepped onto the porch, heart pounding. When our eyes met, her face wavered between relief and anxiety. She had my old eyes, that same shape and color. It shook me to realize she'd grown so much. She was in her mid-20s now, an adult, my adult child, who I'd missed out on all those years. She walked toward me, Jason beside her. A thin film of tears glistened in her eyes as she whispered, "Dad." I opened my arms. She fell into them, hugging me tight, her body shaking. My throat locked up. I whispered back, "Haley." voice cracking with emotion. So many words swirled in my mind, apologies, regrets, love, but all that came out was a choked sob. She clung to me like a lifeline. After a long moment, she stepped back, wiping her eyes. "This is Jason," she said, voice shaky. Jason offered his hand. I shook it, grateful for his steady vibe. "Thank you for letting us visit," he said quietly. "Haley's been talking about this for weeks." Selena and Mia appeared behind me. Selena greeted them with a warm smile, her brown eyes kind. Mia peeked from behind Selena's leg, curiosity evident. "Hi," she piped up. "You're my sister?" Haley's lips parted, a shaky laugh escaping. "Yeah, I guess I am." She knelt down, arms open. Mia, never shy, darted forward to hug her. The sight filled me with gratitude, my two daughters hugging for the first time. Jason leaned over, giving Mia a gentle pat on the shoulder. "Hey there, kiddo," he said. We led them inside, tension and relief mixing in the air. I'd tidied the living room, but we all just awkwardly settled on the couch. Haley kept glancing around, clearly trying to piece together my new life. She spotted framed photos on the wall, Selena and me at our small wedding, Mia's baby pictures. "Wow," she murmured, fingertips brushing one of the frames. "You look so happy here." Her voice held a note of longing, maybe a tinge of regret. Selena disappeared into the kitchen to make lemonade, giving us space. Mia ran off to show Jason her art supplies. That left me and Haley alone, side by side. I swallowed. "You're probably wondering how all this happened, Selena, Mia, my life here." She shrugged, trying to seem casual. "I know time passed, and we never tried to talk. That's on me too, Dad." Her eyes shone with guilt. "Mom told us so many awful things. I believed her. She said you abandoned us, took all the money. It wasn't until I got older that I realized maybe not everything was true." I exhaled, suppressing the old anger. "Vanessa fed you lies to keep me out, Haley, but I wasn't perfect either. I gave up after you and Liam made it clear you wanted me gone." My voice trembled. I didn't know how to fight her poison. Haley's eyes brimmed with tears. "I'm sorry, Dad. I was a teenager. I didn't know better. But then after I graduated, I felt guilty. I wanted to reach out, but Mom would flip out if I mentioned you. By then, I thought it was too late." She rubbed her arm nervously. "Jason convinced me it's never too late." A rush of gratitude for Jason filled me. I took her hand gently, noticing how her fingers still trembled. "Thank you for being here," I said. "I've missed you more than you'll ever know." Mia bounded in with Selena, carrying a plate of cookies and a pitcher of lemonade. The tension broke as Haley and Mia sat on the rug, giggling while Mia rattled off random facts about her dance class. Jason and I watched, sipping lemonade, content to let them bond. Selena perched on the couch's arm, observing quietly with that warm half-smile she always wore when she felt proud. After a bit, Selena offered to give them a tour of the house. Haley smiled, trailing after her with Mia in tow. Jason stayed behind, clearing his throat. "Just so you know," he said, voice low, "Haley's been carrying guilt for a long time. Vanessa manipulated them heavily. Haley feels she owes you an apology." I grimaced, bitterness flaring at Vanessa's name. "She doesn't owe me anything," I muttered. "She was a kid. Vanessa was the adult." My jaw clenched. "But I appreciate you being there for her, thank you." He nodded, meeting my eyes. "I love her. I want to marry her without regrets in her heart. That includes reconciling with you. I told her I'd support her fully." He paused, then added, "Don't hold a grudge too long. She might run if she feels too guilty." Sighing, I nodded. "I'll do my best." The last thing I wanted was to push Haley away again. We had so much ground to make up. No sense letting my old wounds overshadow the chance at forgiveness. The rest of the day passed in a gentle blur playing board games, letting Haley catch glimpses of my day-to-day with Mia and Selena. She lingered over pictures of me holding Mia as a newborn. Selena deftly steered conversations away from Vanessa, focusing on the present moment. By evening, we ordered takeout, all of us crammed around the dining table. Laughter rang out a few times, surprising me. I watched Haley's eyes light up as she and Mia made silly faces. When bedtime rolled around, Haley and Jason insisted on sleeping in a nearby hotel, giving us space. Before leaving, Haley hugged me fiercely. "I'll come back tomorrow," she whispered. "We have a lot to talk about." Standing at the door, I pulled her close, tears threatening. "We do," I agreed, voice thick, "but we have time." She nodded, offering a brave smile before stepping out into the night with Jason. In the quiet aftermath, Selena slid her arm around my waist, leaning her head on my shoulder. "How do you feel?" she asked softly. I stared at the spot where Haley had stood just moments before. "Like my heart's too big for my chest," I admitted with a teary smile. "I'm relieved, grateful, terrified. Everything at once." She pressed a gentle kiss to my cheek. "I'm proud of you," she whispered, leading me back inside. Mia had already fallen asleep on the couch, hugging a stuffed toy. I scooped her up, carried her to bed. Laying her down, I couldn't help but reflect on how things were shifting. After 7 long years, Haley had stepped through the door, bridging past and present. It was only day 1 of her visit, and we were a fragile mix of emotions, memories, and regrets. But for the first time, I saw a path to healing that once seemed impossible. Tomorrow we'd talk more, peel back layers of old pain. For now, I let the peace of her presence settle over me. If this was a new chapter, I intended to write it with open arms and no fear. The following morning, Haley arrived bright and early with Jason, armed with coffee and breakfast pastries. We settled in the living room, Mia perched on Haley's lap like they'd known each other forever. Selena joined us, her presence warm but non-intrusive. I could feel the air brimming with unspoken topics, especially Vanessa's manipulations. But Haley mostly asked about our daily life, wanting to see how I'd changed. Around mid-morning, my phone rang. I glanced at the screen, another unfamiliar number. With Haley sitting right there, I shot her a questioning look. She shrugged, equally clueless. I answered hesitantly. "Hello?" A familiar voice crackled deeper than before. "Dad?" A second shock in 2 days, it was Liam. My heart nearly stopped. I mouthed Liam at Haley, who gasped, eyes wide. Jason gave a thumbs up, supportive. "Liam?" I said, voice unsteady. "Oh my God, is everything okay?" Last I knew, he'd joined the military to escape Vanessa's toxic environment. But I'd lost track of him. Vanessa had made sure of that. Liam's tone was guarded. "Yeah, I'm safe. Stationed stateside. I heard from Haley that she's visiting you. She said you've changed your life around." He paused, swallowing. "I want to see you too, Dad." A lump lodged in my throat. "Of course," I whispered. You're welcome any time." My eyes flicked to Haley, who had tears in her eyes, silently gesturing for me to put it on speaker. I did. "Liam, I'm here," Haley chimed in, voice trembling. "I'm with Dad right now, Selena, Mia, all of us. Are you okay?" He exhaled. "I'm tired of running. And Mom's been unhinged lately, going on about how Dad ruined her life. But I'm not so sure anymore. I'm sick of her drama." His words bristled with pent-up frustration. "So I want to see for myself. Dad, if you'll have me." Tears pooled in my eyes. 7 years of estrangement now flipping in a matter of days. "Liam, I'd be honored," I breathed. "When can you come?" "I can take leave in a couple weeks," he said. "I'll text you the details, but I want to do it soon. I have a lot to say." Another pause, then quietly, "I'm sorry I believed Mom's lies for so long." Those words squeezed my heart. "You were a kid," I murmured, voice quavering. "I'm just glad you're reaching out now." We ended the call with the promise to finalize travel plans. I set my phone down, chest heaving. Haley wiped her eyes, crossing the room to wrap me in a hug. "He sounds good, right?" she whispered. I nodded, hugging her back. "He does. Thank you for talking to him. I never thought I never dared hope both of you would come back." Selena came to my side, resting a hand on my shoulder. Jason offered a quiet smile. "Looks like your family's reuniting," he said softly. Emotion welled up, a swirl of gratitude and anxiety. Vanessa lurked on the edges of this story, I knew it. But for the moment, I let relief flood me. First Haley, now Liam. All those years where I was convinced I'd never be their father again, maybe that was changing for real. We spent the rest of the day talking about wedding plans. Haley revealed that Jason proposed a few months ago, and they were aiming for a small ceremony next spring. She asked if I'd consider walking her down the aisle, which nearly broke me with joy. I agreed, though part of me was uneasy about Vanessa's presence at that event. We didn't dwell on that just yet. That evening, Haley and I had a private conversation while Selena took Mia grocery shopping. Sitting at the kitchen table, she fiddled with a mug of tea. "Dad, there's something you should know. Mom's not doing great." She swallowed, eyes downcast. "She's been drinking a lot, dating random guys. She keeps telling me and Liam that you abandoned us because you couldn't handle responsibility, that you took all the money. I realized she was lying after I did my own research, talked to old neighbors, found out you were paying the bills. She's delusional." A flash of anger tightened my jaw. I recalled that cunning woman who once tried to bleed me dry. "I'm sorry you had to deal with that," I said quietly. We were toxic from the moment I caught her cheating." Haley's gaze flicked up, pain in her eyes. "I wish I'd known sooner. She manipulated me and Liam so well. We ended up blaming you. And by the time we realized her version didn't add up, it felt too late." A tear slipped down her cheek. "I tried to keep the peace with her, but she's hateful every time I mention you." I swallowed the bitterness, wanting to shield Haley from further heartbreak. "You're an adult now. You can choose your own path. If that means having me in your life, I promise I won't let you down again." My voice cracked, raw with the vow. She slid her hand over mine, a faint smile peeking through the tears. "Thank you," she whispered. "I want to know about your life, about Selena, about Mia. I want Liam to know it too. We're done letting Mom's bitterness define us." My heart soared. Gently, we started talking about everyday stuff. Haley's job in marketing, her hopes for a small wedding in a garden. I told her about my day-to-day at the bank, about Mia's unstoppable energy. We tiptoed around deeper pains, but the foundation of trust was reforming. The next day, they returned home. I hugged Haley tight on the driveway, telling her to text me once they arrived safely. She pressed a slip of paper in my hand, her address. "Visit any time," she said, eyes bright. "And tell Liam we'll see him soon, yeah?" She and Jason drove off, leaving me with a heart full of cautious hope. That night, I poured everything out to Selena, how it felt to see Haley again, how I dreaded Vanessa's potential interference. Selena listened, arms snug around me in bed. "We'll face it if it happens," she said gently, stroking my hair. "Focus on your kids. You lost them once. Now they're coming back." A surge of gratitude filled me. I kissed Selena's forehead, the closeness stirring something warm and comforting. She shifted, pressing against me in the dim light. Her whisper brushed my ear. "Tonight, let's forget the stress, okay?" Our lips met in a slow, tender kiss, a shared moment of intimacy that reminded me I was no longer alone in these battles. The sweet warmth of her touch chased away old shadows. Afterward, we drifted to sleep, tangled in each other's arms. My mind flicked with images of Liam stepping off a plane, confronting memories he tried to leave behind. Would I see old anger in his eyes, or a quiet resolve for peace? Either way, I'd greet him with open arms. We had a lot of lost years to make up for. My heart pounded with anticipation and a flicker of fear that Vanessa might sabotage everything. But with Selena's unwavering support, I felt stronger than I ever had before. 2 weeks later, Liam's visit finally arrived. He texted me his flight info the night before, and I insisted on picking him up at the airport. The day came, and I drove there with Selena, anxiety thrumming in my veins. Mia stayed home with a sitter. Selena thought it best to handle potential awkwardness first before involving Mia. We stood at arrivals, scanning faces as travelers poured through. My heart jolted when I spotted a young man in uniform, stiff posture, scanning the crowd. Then our eyes met. Liam paused, lips parting. God, he'd grown taller, broader, with a certain seriousness in his gaze. We approached each other like strangers, but a glint of recognition passed between us. "Liam," I said, voice raw. He nodded, swallowing hard. For a moment, we just stared. Then, in one shaky move, we pulled each other into a hug. His shoulders were tense, but he clung to me like a man drowning. I felt tears pressing. "Welcome, son," I whispered. He drew back, clearing his throat. Dad. His eyes glistened. Feels weird to say it out loud, but hey. I let out a choked laugh, patting his arm. Selena stepped forward, offering a gentle smile. I'm Selena, Ethan's wife. Liam gave her a polite nod, measured. Nice to meet you, he said, voice subdued. On the drive home, tension crackled in the car. Liam peered at the cityscape through the window, occasionally asking about local landmarks. Selena navigated, leaving me free to talk. Eventually, Liam said, I appreciate you letting me crash with you. I wasn't sure if you'd want me around after everything. I shot him a sidelong glance. You're my son, Liam. I always want you around. He exhaled, relief and guilt swirling in his expression. Mom always said you took off without a backward glance, but Haley told me some truths. I wish I'd known. My hands tightened on the wheel, anger flickering. Vanessa had her reasons for lying. None of them justified what she did to you both. I forced a calmer tone. But let's not let her overshadow this visit. You're here now. He nodded, though I saw the conflict in his eyes. We reached the house, and Liam stepped inside, surveying it. Mia bounded out from the living room, bold as ever. Hi, are you Liam? You're tall. She blinked up at him. Liam cracked a small smile. Yeah, that's me, and you must be Mia. He crouched, offering a friendly handshake. She giggled, ignoring the handshake to give him a quick hug. He stiffened, then softened, awkwardly patting her back. Selena guided him to the guest room. He tossed his duffel down, glancing at me. Thanks for the space, Dad. It's weird calling you that again, but I'll get used to it. I squeezed his shoulder gently. Take your time. I couldn't help noticing the lines of tension around his eyes, like he carried heavy burdens from both his service and Vanessa's manipulations. Over the next few days, we tried to settle into a routine. Liam joined me on a morning run where we jogged through the neighborhood quietly. I asked about his military life. He shrugged, giving short answers, but he let slip that being stationed abroad gave him peace away from Vanessa's chaos. Still, I missed having a real family, he admitted, breath fogging in the cool air. Later, he confided more about Vanessa, how she'd cycle through men, throw parties at the house, blame me for all her unhappiness. I hate how she used me and Haley as emotional crutches, he said, frustration boiling. When I questioned her stories, she flipped out. That's when I enlisted. He kicked at a rock on the sidewalk. I needed to escape. My chest clenched. I'm sorry, I said. I wish I'd fought harder to pull you away from that environment, but I didn't know how. He just shrugged. We were kids, yeah. She blocked your attempts, right? I remember her bragging about how she had you cornered with the divorce. She even gloated when you left town. His face tightened with anger. I believed her at first, but after dealing with her for years, I see who she truly is. I put a hand on his shoulder, letting him vent. We finished the run, tired, but a bit lighter. Each day, we found small ways to bond watching a basketball game, teaching him how to cook Selena's favorite dish. He still felt cautious around Selena, but she, with her gentle approach, won him over. Mia adored him, pestering him about the military and cool army stuff. One afternoon, Haley and Jason drove down again. We decided to have a small family gathering. The living room buzzed with conversation, Haley and Liam catching each other up, Mia proudly showing her drawings. Selena placed out snacks while I hovered, heart brimming with gratitude. Sure, there were awkward moments like when they asked about my new life, or when Haley flinched at the mention of Vanessa, but it felt like a warm, chaotic puzzle being pieced together. Midway through the day, my phone rang. I picked it up instinctively, heart dropping at the caller ID, Vanessa. She seldom called me directly. Usually she spread rumors through mutual contacts. Wariness clenched my gut. I stepped outside to answer. What do you want? I said flatly. Her voice slurred slightly. You think you can steal my children and poison them against me? She hissed. They both vanished going to see you. You manipulative bastard. Cold anger coiled in my chest. I refused to let her rattle me. They're adults free to visit me. You can't control them anymore, I said evenly. She let out a ragged laugh. We'll see, Ethan. We'll see how long they put up with your lies. I can ruin your little fantasy family. Then she hung up. My fists clenched. This was the venom I expected. My mind flicked to Haley and Liam inside. They'd come so far, would Vanessa's bitterness tear them away again? I forced myself to calm down and rejoin the group. Selena read my expression, eyes flickering with worry. I shook my head, quietly mouthing, "Vanessa." She nodded, stepping closer, offering silent reassurance. Surprisingly, the day ended without further drama. Liam and Haley joked about childhood memories, while Jason offered supportive hugs when the mood dipped. I watched them all, heart swelling. Yes, Vanessa was lurking with phone calls and threats, but I felt stronger now. The kids wanted me in their lives. That was powerful. That night, after everyone left or went to bed, I lingered in the dim living room, remembering how hopeless I'd once felt. Now, at least, we were forging a path forward. Sure, it was fragile. Vanessa's meddling loomed. But I resolved to stand firm, to shield my children from her chaos as best I could. Selena patted in, wrapping her arms around my waist. "You okay?" she asked softly. I exhaled, turning to kiss her forehead. "Yeah," I whispered, letting the day's tension drain. "We still have a long way to go, but for the first time I truly believe we're healing." Her warm smile answered me. Hand in hand, we walked to bed, braced for whatever turmoil Vanessa might conjure next. But no matter what, my priority was my children. I'd lost them once, never again. I never thought I'd see the day my eldest daughter, Haley, asked me to walk her down the aisle. For so many years, Vanessa's manipulations tore us apart. Now here we stood, preparing for Haley's wedding, a moment of joy laced with anxiety. The ceremony was only a week away, and my stomach churned at the thought of Vanessa showing up. One afternoon, Haley, Selena, and I gathered in our living room to finalize details. Haley clutched a binder of wedding notes, flipping pages with shaky hands. "Everything's set except for the seating chart," she said, eyeing me. "Mom's definitely coming, Dad. I can't exactly ban her from my own wedding, but I'm worried." I exhaled, forcing calm. "We'll handle it. If she tries anything, I'll shut it down." Easier said than done. I'd spent half my nights dreaming about Vanessa bursting into the ceremony, causing chaos. Selena, sitting across from us with Mia curled in her lap, gave a reassuring nod. "We'll be prepared," she said. "Haley, focus on your day. Jason's excited, right?" Haley's face softened at the mention of Jason, her fiancé, the gentle soul who'd supported her reconnecting with me. "He's beyond excited," she admitted, a glimmer of a smile lighting her eyes. "But he's worried about Mom's outbursts, too. She's been calling me non-stop, ranting about how Dad's brainwashed me." Mia, who was coloring a picture on the coffee table, piped up, "What's a wedding meltdown?" her brow furrowed with the seriousness of an 80-year-old. Haley patted Mia's hand lightly, trying a smile. "It's just grown-up stuff, kiddo. Don't worry." Deep down, I wrestled with old nightmares. Every so often, I'd jolt awake at 2 a.m., heart pounding with memories of Vanessa's furious tirades. I'd lie there, Selena drowsily comforting me, reminding me that I wasn't powerless anymore. Still, the tension weighed on me like lead. A few days later, Haley's phone rang while she was visiting. She put it on speaker so we all heard Vanessa's voice spitting venom. "You ungrateful brat!" Vanessa snarled. "How dare you let your father walk you down the aisle after all he did to us? You'll regret it. I'll make sure of it." Haley, tears in her eyes, calmly replied, "Mom, I love you, but Dad didn't do what you claimed. You need to stop." Vanessa's retort was cut short when Haley hung up, trembling. Jason gently rubbed her back, glancing at me with concern. I clenched my fists, fury stirring. Vanessa had no right to sabotage Haley's happiness. That night, Selena and I lay awake, discussing how to handle the wedding. "Maybe we can arrange extra security," Selena suggested. "At least a friend or two who can usher her out if she causes trouble." The idea made sense. I texted an old co-worker, Mark, who lived in the area. He and his big, sturdy frame might come in handy if Vanessa got physical. Meanwhile, Haley was finalizing the venue, a small garden by a historic inn. She asked me to attend the rehearsal so we could practice the walk down the aisle. My chest felt tight as I imagined holding her arm, stepping along a pathway lined with flowers, all while dreading Vanessa's presence looming in the background. 3 nights before the wedding, I experienced the worst nightmare yet. I was back in my old bedroom, catching Vanessa cheating all over again. Only this time she turned around, her face twisted in fury, screaming that I'd ruin Haley's wedding like I ruined everything else. I woke in a cold sweat, Selena stroking my forehead. "It's just your anxiety," she whispered. "Remember your vow. You won't let her control you anymore." I clung to that vow. The next day, I steeled my nerves. I called Haley, asking if she wanted me to meet Vanessa face-to-face before the wedding to diffuse tension. Haley considered it, but ultimately declined. "Mom is unpredictable. She'd probably twist it against you. Let's just keep our distance until the ceremony." So be it. I poured my nervous energy into helping with last-minute tasks, flower arrangements, double-checking the timeline, ensuring the officiant had our correct info. Meanwhile, Liam arrived in town, stepping up to support Haley. Seeing both my older kids under one roof felt surreal. They joked about childhood memories, ignoring the gloom Vanessa cast. Finally, the rehearsal day dawned. The garden was serene, blooming roses, neatly trimmed hedges. Haley looked radiant in a casual white sundress, Jason beside her, smiling like he'd won the lottery. I tried to focus on the present, my daughter, happy, forging a path I once thought lost. We practiced. Haley took my arm. We walked slowly down the makeshift aisle. The small gathering, Liam, Selena, Jason's parents, watched with gentle applause. My chest tightened with emotion. Haley's eyes glistened, and she whispered, "I'm so glad you're here, Dad." "Me too," I managed, voice thick. In that moment, the past's bitterness receded, replaced by fatherly pride. We ended the rehearsal with a casual dinner at a local bistro. Laughter and conversation floated around the table, the tension a bit lighter. If only Vanessa wasn't lurking in the background, I could fully enjoy this. As we parted ways, Haley hugged me. "Tomorrow's it, Dad. No matter what Mom pulls, let's stay strong." I nodded, forcing a smile. "Absolutely. This is your day. I'll protect it with everything I have." Back home, Selena found me in the darkened kitchen, sipping a glass of water. She slid her arms around my waist from behind. "Tomorrow's big," she murmured. "But you're ready, Ethan. Don't let fear overshadow love." I turned to kiss her softly, letting the warmth of her touch calm me. She was right. I'd come a long way from that broken man who fled his hometown. Now I had real strength love from Selena, my newly restored bond with Haley and Liam, and the moral high ground against Vanessa's manipulations. As midnight approached, I tried to sleep, mind racing with what-ifs, but I reminded myself, Vanessa is no longer your puppeteer. I was determined to stand by Haley, nightmares or not. If the day brought a confrontation, I'd face it head-on. I owed my daughter that much, and I owed myself the closure of proving Vanessa no longer controlled my fate. The morning of Haley's wedding dawned bright and clear. The sky was a pure cobalt blue, the sun warm but not scorching perfect for a garden ceremony. I dressed in a tailored gray suit, hands shaking a bit as I fumbled with my tie. Selena stepped behind me, gently nodding it. "Calm," she said, eyes reflecting quiet confidence. We arrived at the garden early. White chairs aligned on the lawn, the aisle sprinkled with soft pink petals. Musicians tuned their instruments under a small gazebo. Haley was hidden away in the inn's bridal suite, finalizing her hair and makeup. Jason, looking dapper in his suit, greeted guests near the entrance. Liam hung back, wearing a brave face. He caught my gaze, giving me a nod that said we're in this together. All seemed peaceful, but my stomach roiled with tension. Where was Vanessa? Even though I dreaded her arrival, the anticipation gnawed at me. I discreetly texted Mark, my burly friend, confirming he was stationed near the gates, ready to intervene if needed. He replied with a thumbs up. Guests trickled in, Jason's parents smiling warmly, some of Haley's friends from college, a few of my bank co-workers who'd grown close to me and Selena. Then, in the corner of my eye, I saw a figure stepping out of a car, a tall woman in a flamboyant red dress. Vanessa, my pulse hammered. She locked eyes with me from across the lawn, an eerie smirk tugging her lips. She sauntered in, ignoring the polite greeters, scanning the crowd until she spotted Liam. I saw him stiffen. Before I could intervene, she approached him, voice raised enough for people nearby to overhear. "Where's Haley?" Vanessa demanded. Liam's jaw clenched. "Inside. And she doesn't need your drama right now, Mom." Vanessa's eyes narrowed. Drama? I'm her mother. She needs me more than she needs that traitorous father of hers. Her voice dripped contempt. Some guests glanced over in curiosity. My breath caught, adrenaline kicking in. Selena, sensing the flare-up, subtly guided Mia away to fetch a snack, sparing her from the tension. I stepped forward, placing a hand on Liam's shoulder. Go check on Haley, son, I said gently. He nodded, relief flickering. With a final glare at Vanessa, he hurried into the inn. Now it was just me and Vanessa, with bystanders pretending not to stare. She gave me a once-over, sneering. Well, look at you, all dressed up, playing the doting father after you abandoned your kids. Think you can fool everyone? Her voice was a hiss, eyes bloodshot maybe from liquor. I swallowed, refusing to let her barbs sink in. I'm here for Haley, I said quietly. This isn't about you and me. If you care about her, don't cause a scene. She scoffed, stepping closer so I caught a whiff of strong perfume. You always act so righteous. But I know the truth. You wanted to run off and start a new life. Haley and Liam were just disposable to you. Anger flared, but I kept my composure. They know the truth now. That's why they reached out to me, not you. A flicker of rage contorted her features. She opened her mouth, but I cut in, voice low. If you disrupt Haley's wedding, I will personally have you escorted out. Understand? Her lips pressed into a thin line, but she held her tongue. Mark hovered a few steps away, watchful. Sensing she was outnumbered, Vanessa tossed her hair with forced bravado and moved off to find a seat. Tension remained thick in the air, but at least we avoided a public brawl, for now. Minutes later, the ceremony began. Soft music drifted across the lawn. Guests rose as Haley appeared at the garden arch, her gown flowing like a dream. I stood at her side, heart swelling with fatherly pride. She clutched my arm, trembling. Thank you, Dad, she whispered. No matter what happens, I'm glad you're here. We proceeded down the aisle. I caught sight of Vanessa in the third row, arms folded, scowling. She'd worn that garish red dress, as if trying to steal attention. But all eyes were on Haley. Up at the altar, Jason waited, teary-eyed at the sight of his bride. The officiant smiled, welcoming everyone. I passed Haley's arm to Jason, stepping aside to stand with Selena. My mind whirled with relief. But just as the officiant started speaking, a sudden noise erupted from the seating area. Vanessa stood up, objecting loudly. Wait! She yelled, voice cracking. People gasped. Haley's face paled, dread flickering in her eyes. Instantly, Mark swooped closer, and I tensed, stepping forward. The officiant paused, uncertain. Vanessa glared at me, raising her voice for all to hear. Haley, you're making a huge mistake letting him walk you down the aisle. He's a liar, a cheat, she ranted on, spewing claims about how I supposedly bankrupted her, how I fled responsibility. The guests stirred in discomfort. Haley's lips trembled, tears shining. Liam leapt from his seat on the groom's side, crossing to confront Vanessa. Enough, Mom, he barked, voice taut with anger. Stop ruining Haley's wedding. The officiant tried to restore order, but Vanessa ranted, She's my daughter, I have every right. In that moment, I found a strange calm. I signaled Mark, who guided the wedding staff. They moved quickly. 2 ushers approached Vanessa from behind, politely but firmly urging her to step outside. She screeched protests, throwing wild accusations at me, claiming I manipulated her children. But the ushers escorted her away, her heels clacking on the stone path. She shrieked, This isn't over! Before disappearing around the corner of the inn. Silence fell. All eyes turned to Haley, who stood trembling at the altar, Jason's arms around her. I stepped forward, gently placing a hand on her shoulder. She's gone, I said softly, voice steady. This is your day. Don't let her take it. Haley choked back tears, nodding. The officiant, visibly rattled, cleared his throat and resumed. With a wobbly smile, Haley refocused on Jason. The ceremony proceeded, vows were exchanged, rings slipped onto fingers. By the end, tears flowed freely but from emotion rather than fear. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, applause thundered. Haley and Jason kissed, beaming, my eyes blurred with tears of pride and relief. Selena clasped my hand, pressing close. Despite Vanessa's best effort, the wedding was intact. My daughter was married, radiant in love and defiance of her mother's chaos. As Haley and Jason led the procession back down the aisle, the guests cheered. Some whispered about Vanessa's meltdown, but the newlyweds brushed it aside, focusing on their joy. I breathed a shaky exhale. Vanessa had tried, but she failed to overshadow the moment. Deep in my core, I sensed the tide had finally turned. This time, her manipulations had no power over us. The wedding reception moved indoors, a charming ballroom adorned with soft lantern lights and round tables. The mood gradually lightened as Haley and Jason performed their first dance. People mingled, sipping champagne, chatting about how beautiful the ceremony was, aside from the earlier fiasco. Liam stood near the bar, tense and quiet. I joined him, offering a gentle nudge. "You okay?" He exhaled, swirling a soda in his glass. "I'm furious, Dad." Mom had no right to show up and trash Haley's day. His voice trembled. "I can't believe I used to defend her." I laid a hand on his shoulder. "She's desperate to hold control, but it's slipping away." He nodded, lips set. We drank in silence, letting the music from the dance floor wash over us. In the corner, I noticed Selena entertaining Mia with some slow sways to the beat, calming her after the uproar. Suddenly, the venue's side door burst open. Vanessa stormed in again, hair disheveled, eyes wild. Two staff members rushed to intercept, but she dodged them. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Haley and Jason froze mid-dance. My heart dropped. Couldn't she let this be? Vanessa pointed an accusing finger at me, voice echoing. "You think you've won?" she hissed. "You took my kids, turned them against me." She stepped forward, and the staff blocked her path. People drew back, uneasy. Haley's face darkened with shock, then fury. She moved as if to confront her mother, but Liam beat her to it. Liam strode across the room, shoulders rigid. He confronted Vanessa in a voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "We turned ourselves against you, Mom, because you lied to us for years," he said, each word clipped with anger. "All Dad ever did was try to protect us. You used us as weapons." Vanessa's eyes flickered with fear, a caged animal look. She spat. "Don't talk to me like that. I'm your mother." Liam scoffed. "Really? A mother who tries to ruin her daughter's wedding? You're just proving Dad was right all along." A hush blanketed the room. People watched, transfixed. Haley stood by the dance floor, tears in her eyes, Jason rubbing her arm. My fists clenched at my sides, adrenaline surging. I was ready to intervene, but Liam seemed determined to speak his truth. He stepped closer, voice quavering with emotion. "I joined the military to escape your manipulations. Haley left the house as soon as she could. Ever ask why? Because you made life hell, always blaming Dad for everything, always playing the victim." He gestured around the reception, where guests stared in stunned silence. "Now you barge in here, humiliating Haley on her wedding day. You've lost us, Mom. You need help, but you won't admit it." Vanessa's face contorted, tears brimming. "Liam, I raised you," she whispered, voice cracking. She tried to reach for him, but he recoiled, shaking his head. "Enough," he said. "We're done." Haley finally moved forward, eyes glistening. She took a shaky breath, addressing Vanessa in a wavering voice. "Mom, please leave. For once, respect my boundaries. This is my wedding, and you're not welcome anymore." Vanessa whirled on Haley, rage mixing with heartbreak. "I sacrificed everything for you two, and now you side with him?" She jabbed a finger in my direction. "He's the one who—" Haley cut her off, voice rising. "Stop! I'm grown. I've seen the documents, the bank records. I talked to neighbors who saw how you cheated on Dad. I know you've been lying all this time." She wiped tears, swallowing a sob. "You can't twist the story anymore." The final blow landed. Vanessa's composure shattered. She let out a ragged wail, turning on her heel. The staff tried to direct her out, but she stumbled, nearly tripping over her dress. Guests parted like waves, some whispering sympathy, others disgust. Finally, Mark stepped in with the staff, guiding her outside. Her anguished cries faded as the doors shut behind her. Silence hovered. Then softly the band started up again. Haley leaned against Jason, trembling. Liam stood there, hands balled into fists. I reached him first, embracing him in a fierce hug. He let out a shaky exhale, tears dampening his cheeks. "I'm sorry it had to happen like that," I murmured. Haley joined us, pulling Liam in. "We did what we had to do," she whispered, voice thick with grief and relief. Selena approached, placing a reassuring hand on Haley's shoulder. Mia peeked out from behind Selena, wide-eyed, uncertain. I gently ushered Mia to my side, whispering that everything was okay now. The guests gradually relaxed, talk resuming in hushed murmurs. Haley took a moment to compose herself, then bravely returned to the center of the dance floor. She and Jason resumed their first dance, tears glimmering but shoulders squared. Applause rose, supportive and warm. The meltdown had ended in a raw confrontation, but it was a release of truth that needed to happen. I slipped away to check with Mark at the entrance. He confirmed Vanessa was gone, driving off alone. She looked shattered, he said, sobbing about losing everything. I felt a pang once upon a time we'd been married, but she'd sabotaged it all, refusing to see her fault. Now she stood alone, humiliated. A twisted sense of finality settled in my chest. When I returned, the reception found a surprising buoyancy. People recognized that Haley and Liam had shattered the illusions Vanessa spun for years. The bride and groom held each other close, forging ahead with their celebration. I spotted Liam at the bar, quietly accepting pats on the shoulder from sympathetic guests. He looked relieved, as though he'd exorcised a demon. Selena nudged me, eyes shining with admiration. "Your kids are strong," she murmured. "They faced their mother's chaos head-on. I'm proud of them." I nodded, feeling tears threatening. "Me too," I whispered. The night flowed on with toasts, dancing, laughter. Haley and Liam shared a sibling dance, tears in their eyes but smiling. I watched them, chest tight with pride. My children had broken free from Vanessa's hold. They saw her meltdown, her cruelty, and they stood firm. The final walls of her manipulation crumbled under the weight of reality. At the end of the night, as Haley and Jason dashed off under a shower of confetti, I caught them for one last hug. She clung to me, whispering, "Thank you, Dad, for everything." Jason shook my hand, gratitude evident. I wished them a joyful honeymoon, ignoring the lingering sting of Vanessa's actions. This day, despite her meltdown, belonged to love and truth. Selena and I helped Liam gather leftover decorations, loading them into a car. He exhaled, a tired half-smile. "I think I can sleep for a year now," he joked weakly. I ruffled his hair, voice thick with affection. "You did good, son. We all did." Driving home, I was exhausted but felt lighter. Vanessa had shown her true colors for everyone to see. The meltdown was a final blow to her credibility. Haley and Liam had turned that page themselves, refusing to let her ruin their future. As we pulled into our driveway, Selena took my hand, giving it a gentle squeeze. "You're free now," she said simply. Tears blurred my vision. Free maybe for the first time in nearly a decade. Days after the wedding, a calm settled over all of us. The spectacle of Vanessa's public outburst at Haley's wedding lingered in gossip circles, but among those who mattered, Haley, Liam, me, Selena, it felt like a catharsis. She'd destroyed her own last thread of credibility by attacking her own children on one of the most important days of their lives. Haley and Jason left for a brief honeymoon, sending happy photos from a lakeside cabin. Each text from Haley included a note of thanks for my support. "We're so relieved that drama's over," she wrote. "I love you, Dad." My heart soared each time I saw those words after so many years of estrangement. Her trust in me was the sweetest victory. Liam stayed in town for a bit, crashing at our place. He and I shared more heart-to-hearts about the past. One afternoon, we lounged in the backyard, sipping iced tea while Mia ran around with a hula hoop. Liam's gaze followed her with a fond smile. "She's so carefree," he said softly. "I wish me and Haley had that when we were kids." I sighed. "Me too. But we can't rewrite it. We can only move forward." He nodded, tipping his head back to catch the sun's warmth. "After seeing Mom's meltdown, I realized how toxic she was. I used to think you'd abandoned us. Now I see she practically forced you out. No wonder you ran." A dull ache pressed my chest. I was angry, hurt. But leaving was maybe cowardly. I should have fought harder for you both. Liam shook his head firmly. "Don't beat yourself up. Mom manipulated the courts, manipulated us. She's the one who failed. We let the quiet linger, the hum of summer air around us. Finally, he murmured, "You know, I forgive you, Dad, for not being around. I see now it wasn't your choice." My throat constricted, gratitude and sorrow mixing. "Thank you," I whispered, voice rough. "I forgive myself a little bit too, hearing you say that." Later that evening, Selena joined me on the couch after Mia went to bed. We cuddled under a blanket, lights dim. She brushed a hand through my hair, studying my face. "You look relieved," she said, a small smile playing on her lips. I leaned my head against her shoulder. "I feel it. Haley got married without letting Vanessa sabotage her future. Liam finally confronted his mother. The kids have made peace with me. It's all I ever wanted." I paused, tears prickling. I used to dream about revenge on Vanessa, but now I just feel pity. She lost everything because she couldn't stop lying. Selena kissed my temple gently. "That's growth, Ethan. You're letting go of the bitterness." I nodded, arms tightening around her. We shared a warm silence, hearts beating in unison. In the distant hush of the living room, I could almost imagine the ghosts of my past flickering out, replaced by the love and stability I'd found here. 2 weeks after the wedding, Haley and Jason returned from their honeymoon. They visited us one afternoon, exuding newlywed glow. Haley bumbled around the kitchen with Selena, giggling over some new recipe. Jason, Liam, and I hung out in the living room, chatting about random topics, sports, cars, life plans. It felt normal, like the family gatherings I once only dreamed of. Later, Haley pulled me aside, producing an envelope from her bag. "Dad, this is a small photo album from the wedding," she explained, pressing it into my hands. I flipped through shots of her and Jason dancing, me walking her down the aisle, Liam giving a heartfelt toast. My chest tightened with emotion. "Beautiful," I breathed. Her gaze drifted to the floor. Then she looked up. "I want you to know I forgive you for the past, for leaving. Mom twisted everything. You did what you had to do, and I'm just happy we're here now." Tears welled in my eyes. I pulled her into a hug, words failing. My heart clenched with overwhelming gratitude. Once I'd believed I'd never see her again. Now she was in my arms, genuinely offering forgiveness. It felt like the final step in my own redemption arc, the acceptance that we couldn't reclaim the lost years, but we could thrive from this point on. That night, after Haley and Jason left, I sat out on the porch alone for a moment, gazing at the stars. The wind whispered gently, reminding me of old nights in that motel years ago, plotting revenge. Vanessa's meltdown at the wedding proved how self-destructive she'd become. I heard rumors she'd retreated from the city in shame, losing even the few acquaintances she had left. In the starry silence, I found my own quiet absolution. I'd fought my battles, secured my kids' trust, and seen Vanessa unravel under her own lies. There was no triumph in her downfall, only closure. My desire for vengeance had fizzled, replaced by an understanding that you can't force someone to change or accept responsibility. They have to face themselves eventually. Selena stepped onto the porch, slipping her hand into mine. I glanced at her, a gentle warmth filling my chest. "Everything okay?" she asked softly. I nodded. "I'm just reflecting," I replied, "on how far we've all come." She leaned her head on my shoulder, our breaths synchronized. Mia's laughter echoed inside the house, playing some game with Liam. A sense of peace enveloped me like the final loose ends of my old life had been tied off. I wasn't the bitter man fleeing his city anymore. I wasn't the father who'd lost his kids. I was Ethan Pierce, husband to Selena, father to Mia, newly reconciled father to Haley and Liam. In that moment, I recognized I had forgiven myself, forgiven the past, and in a strange way, forgiven Vanessa too. Her destruction was of her own making. I had no place in it anymore. My future was here, a blended family forging their own version of happiness. As Selena squeezed my hand, I gazed at the stars, feeling gratitude and humility. This was my victory over betrayal and anger, the freedom to build a life unchained from bitterness. I bowed my head, murmuring to the night air, "Thank you." Whether I was addressing fate, or God, or just the cosmic swirl of second chances, I wasn't sure. All I knew was that my story had reached a quiet, triumphant turning point. The betrayal that once defined me had lost its grip, overshadowed by the love and forgiveness glowing under these soft Carolina stars. The hush of dawn crept through the bay windows of our new house, painting the living room in a warm glow. I stood there sipping coffee, letting gratitude wash over me. Selena and I had finally purchased a larger home, a cozy two-story in a leafy Charlotte neighborhood. We'd spent weeks painting walls, replacing worn carpets, and adding personal touches. No more cramped condo or lingering sense of impermanence. This place was ours, built for the family we'd become. Mia padded in wearing pajamas, rubbing sleep from her eyes. She yawned and gave me a crooked grin. "Daddy, can we have pancakes?" she asked, half pleading. I ruffled her hair. "Sure thing, Munchkin," I teased. "Want chocolate chips in them?" Her eyes lit up. "Yes, yes." Then she scurried off toward the kitchen, where Selena was flipping through a home decor magazine. Life had grown comfortable in ways I never imagined. A stable routine, a supportive spouse, my children increasingly present in my life. Gone were the lonely motel nights or the bitter obsession with revenge. I still carried scars, but they didn't rule me anymore. Haley and Jason were thriving in their new roles as husband and wife, busy with their careers, she in marketing, he in a small startup venture. They dropped by on weekends sometimes, and every visit brought laughter and updates on newlywed life. Liam, meanwhile, had moved closer to attend college after his military stint, renting a small apartment not far from the university. We saw him often for casual dinners or to watch sports, his once guarded demeanor now relaxed. And then there was Ariana, Selena's cousin from Texas. She'd come up for a family gathering one month, ended up crossing paths with Liam at a backyard barbecue, and sparks flew. Now they were tentatively dating, an amusing twist that knitted our families even closer. Whenever Liam teased Ariana about her mild accent, she'd quip right back, calling him Mr. Army. I saw how his eyes lit up around her, a gentle happiness he never showed in his teenage years. "Ethan?" Selena's voice drew me out of my thoughts. She strolled in, setting her magazine aside. "Breakfast is nearly done if you want to check on your pancake masterpiece," she teased, smirking at the sight of me daydreaming. I chuckled, realizing I'd been lost in reflection. Leaning forward, I planted a soft kiss on her cheek. "Be right there." She brushed her fingertips along my sleeve. "Hard to believe how far we've come, huh?" she murmured, voice carrying the warmth of pride. I nodded. "We made it happen," I said simply. Over breakfast, Mia chattered about her new bedroom, complete with a reading nook and twinkly lights. "It's big enough for when Haley and Liam visit so they can see my space," she declared, chomping a pancake. We laughed, hearts brimming with love for this bright-eyed kid who saw everyone as part of her big family. Later that day, Liam texted saying he and Ariana might swing by for dinner. My immediate thought was to grill out in the backyard. The new house had a spacious deck perfect for gatherings. The sun hung lazily in a clear sky as we set up chairs, the smell of fresh-cut grass lingering. I took a moment to admire the yard's soft green lawn, a corner garden Selena was cultivating with herbs and flowers. A symbol of growth, I realized. We weren't running from the past anymore. We were planting roots. When Liam arrived, Ariana in tow, I caught the spark of excitement in their eyes. Mia squealed happily, dragging Ariana off to show her the house. Liam lingered with me by the grill. He handed me a pack of burger patties, sighing in satisfaction. "Dad, this place is nice," he said, gazing around. "Feels homey." I shot him a half grin. "That's the idea." We chatted casually, turning burgers, discussing his college classes and Ariana's plan to attend a local nursing program next semester. Selena popped out from time to time with condiments and wry remarks about my grilling technique. Eventually, we all settled around the outdoor table, Selena, Mia, me, Liam, Ariana, feasting on burgers, potato salad, cold drinks. The conversation flowed with easy humor, not a shred of bitterness or regret. Every so often, I'd glance at Liam or Mia, my heart warm. My old vow to protect what matters thrummed quietly, no longer an anxious mantra, but a steady promise. After dinner, we sprawled across the deck, the sky transitioning into dusk. Ariana quietly mentioned that she liked Charlotte enough to consider staying long-term if she found a good job post-nursing school. Liam glanced at me, a smile tugging his lips. "Guess I won't be leaving anytime soon either," he said. "I kinda like having a real family to come home to now." The words caught me off guard, stirring a swell of emotion. I reached over, squeezing his shoulder. "You always have a home here," I murmured. Under the soft glow of patio lanterns, I realized I was living out the vow I'd once whispered in heartbreak, to never lose my children again. They were with me, not under Vanessa's thumb. The city lights twinkled in the distance, symbolizing new beginnings I never thought possible. That night, after Liam and Ariana left, Selena and I tucked Mia into bed. She drifted off contently, hugging the stuffed unicorn Liam had given her for her birthday. Standing in the hallway, I wrapped an arm around Selena, pressing my forehead to hers. "Still can't believe this is our life," I whispered. She smiled, eyes reflecting equal parts relief and joy. "Believe it," she teased softly, leading me to our bedroom. As we climbed under the blankets, she snuggled into my side. We talked in hushed voices about the future expanding our careers, maybe taking Mia on a proper vacation, the possibility of more kids. The idea both thrilled and terrified me. But after everything, I felt ready for the next chapter of fatherhood if it came. I drifted off to sleep with the comfortable weight of Selena in my arms, that vow echoing in my mind. Protect what I value no matter what. But for now, there were no more monsters at the door. We'd locked them out long ago, and all that remained was a gentle, enduring peace. 2 months later, I found myself driving Mia to her new kindergarten class, my nerves fluttering more than hers. She clutched her little lunchbox, humming a tune. "I can't wait to make friends, Daddy," she beamed, kicking her legs against the car seat. I let out a shaky laugh. "You'll do great," I assured her, though my own chest felt tight. My baby was growing up. The morning air was crisp as we walked into the school. Mia dashed off to find her cubby, excitement shining in her eyes. I lingered by the door, uncertain, until the teacher gently ushered me out. "She'll be fine," the teacher said with a smile. "We'll take good care of her." I nodded, swallowing a wave of emotion. It wasn't my first rodeo with fatherhood. Haley and Liam had once been this small, but it felt brand new all over again. In the parking lot, Selena waited in our SUV. She saw the tears glistening in my eyes, gave me a knowing grin. "Softy," she teased, patting my back. I sniffed, shaking my head. "She's just so big now," I muttered. "It goes too fast." At work that day, I tried focusing on bank spreadsheets, but kept checking the clock, picturing Mia meeting classmates. Around lunchtime, Haley video called me, laughing when she heard about my first day jitters. "Dad, I remember your face when you dropped me off in kindergarten, too," she teased. "You'll survive." In truth, these normal parenting milestones were a gift I once feared I'd never experience again. I'd lost so many of Haley's and Liam's moments to Vanessa's manipulations. Now, with Mia, I got a second chance at fatherhood, a chance to do it right without heartbreak overshadowing everything. That evening, we picked Mia up, hearing her breathless recount of new friends, art projects, and the super nice teacher. As we pulled into the driveway, I felt a surge of contentment, but Selena's eyes gleamed with another surprise. Once Mia was distracted inside, Selena tugged me aside in the kitchen and handed me a small envelope. "Open it," she whispered, her face a mix of nerves and excitement. My hands trembled as I pulled out the paper, a lab result confirming Selena's pregnancy. My jaw dropped. She bit her lip, tears brimming. "I found out this morning. I didn't want to say anything until I was sure." My heart pounded. A second child? At my age? Fear and joy warred within me, but joy won out. I swept her into a tight hug, emotions swirling. I can't believe it," I whispered, voice cracking. We told Mia that night, though, in simpler terms. She squealed, demanding to know if it would be a brother or sister. We hadn't even processed that yet. I texted Liam and Haley privately. Both replied with ecstatic congratulations. Haley joked, "Looks like Mia won't be the baby for long." Liam teased, "You sure you can keep up with a newborn at your age, Dad?" Of course, old anxieties flickered. My last attempt at raising children with a spouse had ended in betrayal. But Selena was nothing like Vanessa. Our bond was built on trust and honesty. That night, as she and I lay in bed, talking softly about baby names, I felt my heart swell. This was fatherhood round 2, or maybe round 3, but it came with acceptance and love. I was no longer haunted by the past. Instead, I held a calm determination to be the best father I could. A week later, we had a small family dinner with Haley and Jason, plus Liam and Ariana. We revealed Selena's pregnancy officially, sharing the ultrasound picture. Cheering and laughter erupted around the table. Jason clapped me on the back. Haley swooned over the image. Liam teased me about sleepless nights. Ariana, excited by the news, offered help if Selena ever needed an extra hand. Mia bounced around, chanting, "I'm gonna be a big sister." As we enjoyed dessert, a quiet moment struck me. How different this was from the life I once had. Vanessa's venom, the fractured relationships, the bitter solitude. Now, with new connections, shared hope, and a second shot at fatherhood, I felt the last vestiges of my old pain dissolving. We were allowed to be happy. Even the mention of Vanessa seldom crept into our conversations anymore. According to Haley, she'd checked into some therapy program, though details were scarce. A subtle cameo of closure. I thought maybe she was seeking help, but it didn't dominate our world. At night, after everyone left, Selena curled into me on the couch, her hand resting on her still flat stomach. "Nervous?" she asked softly, sensing my thoughtful silence. I kissed her temple, fingers tracing her hair. "A little," I admitted, "but mostly excited. I wasted too much time and regret before. Not anymore." She sighed contentedly, flipping the TV to some mindless show. Our hands stayed entwined, the glow of the future warm around us. Parenthood in my 40s might be daunting, but it also felt like sweet redemption proof that I could build a loving family from the ashes of betrayal. 3 months into Selena's pregnancy, life settled into a new routine. Early doctor visits, mild cravings, Mia's excitement ramping up. Meanwhile, Haley and Jason thrived in their careers. Liam juggled college and part-time security work. Ariana often joined our gatherings, fitting seamlessly into the fold. Everything was unexpectedly peaceful. Then, out of the blue, I got a call from a number I recognized but hadn't seen in a long time. Vanessa's. My stomach twisted as I answered in my office at the bank, voice taut. "Hello?" A pause, then her voice oddly subdued. "Ethan, I need to talk." My immediate reaction was caution. "What do you want?" She exhaled shakily. "I'm in therapy now, rehab actually, for drinking and other issues. I realize how badly I messed up." I stayed silent, old anger stirring. But something in her tone hinted she wasn't here to rant. "I lost the kids' respect, everything," she continued. "I'm not asking for forgiveness, just a chance to say I'm sorry, face to face if possible." The part of me that once burned for revenge clenched up, considering refusal. But I'd come so far, and I wasn't one to kick someone already on the ground, even Vanessa. "Let me think about it," I said curtly, ending the call. My mood soured for hours, the ghost of betrayal resurrected. That night, I told Selena. She listened quietly, then placed a reassuring hand on my knee. "You owe her nothing," she said. "But sometimes closure comes from seeing how powerless the past is over you. You can meet her if you want or walk away." Her calm perspective steadied me. "I'll meet her," I decided, voice grim, just to see what she wants. A week later, I found myself in a coffee shop near the rehab center, heart pounding as I spotted Vanessa enter. She looked thinner, hair pulled back, eyes darting nervously. She approached the table like a wary animal. "Ethan," she whispered, sliding into the seat opposite me. I nodded, keeping my face neutral. For a moment, we just stared. Memories flickered. Her brazen infidelity, her manipulative grin, the divorce battles. Finally, she spoke, voice tight. "I know I can't fix what I did to you, or to Haley and Liam, but my therapist says I need to confront my mistakes, own them." She swallowed hard, tears forming. "I'm sorry for everything, cheating, lying, using the kids against you." I watched her, a swirl of emotions churning. Once, an apology like this might have fueled a triumphant sense of vengeance. But now, all I felt was sadness. sadness that she'd spiraled so far. "You hurt them more than me," I said quietly. "Haley and Liam needed a stable mother, not manipulation." She broke into sobs, drawing curious glances from nearby patrons. "I know," she gasped, voice quivering. "They won't return my calls. Liam blocked my number. Haley told me to stay away." She rubbed her face, eyes red. "I deserve it, but it still hurts. I wanted you to know I'm not the same monster, just a broken woman trying to rebuild." A pang of pity stirred, warring with the memory of her cruelty at Haley's wedding. "I can't speak for them," I said evenly. "If they want to forgive, that's their choice. As for me, I've moved on. I have a new family. I've let go of the rage I held for you." She stared, tears glistening. "You forgave me?" I shrugged. "It's not about forgiveness. It's about not letting you rule my life anymore." The words felt final, like the last page of a bitter chapter. Vanessa nodded, wiping her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. "That's all I wanted to hear." We parted with no hugs, no warmth, just a quiet understanding that our paths had diverged irreparably. As I walked out, a strange relief lightened my steps. My so-called vengeance was complete, not through her suffering, but through my own freedom. That evening I told Selena everything. She listened, then pressed a gentle kiss to my forehead. "Proud of you," she murmured. "You faced her and you came out unscathed." I exhaled, feeling an immense weight lifted. I'd been defined by betrayal once. Now I was defined by family, love, and the choice to live without venom in my veins. Haley and Liam heard of Vanessa's attempt at contact but showed no interest in reconciling yet. "Maybe one day," Liam said with a shrug, "but not now." Haley echoed the sentiment. I respected their boundaries. The final vestige of my vengeance had crumbled. I no longer needed to hate Vanessa, she had destroyed herself. My only role was to protect my kids from any further fallout, and they were wise enough to protect themselves. 2 years after that final coffee shop meeting, my life was unrecognizable from the shattered beginnings. We decided to celebrate by hosting a summer barbecue in our backyard, a gathering of everyone I cherished. The day was bright, sun glowing, a slight breeze rustling Selena's flower beds. Guests arrived steadily. Haley and Jason, arm in arm, sporting relaxed smiles. Liam and Ariana, laughing about some inside joke. Mia, now almost 10, scurried around with Ariana's little niece, giggling in the yard. Selena, radiant as always, stepped onto the deck carrying our second child, Evan, in a baby carrier strapped to her chest. My heart swelled at the sight. I manned the grill, flipping steaks, the savory smell enveloping everyone. Haley sidled up with a grin. "Need help?" she teased, taking over with the spatula. I watched her, pride brimming. She looked so content, a far cry from the torn teenager I once feared I'd lost forever. Jason came by, giving me a thumbs-up for the marinade. Across the yard, Liam and Ariana helped Mia set up a makeshift badminton net, laughter echoing. Selena joined me by the grill, baby Evan dozing against her, his tiny face scrunched in post-nap bliss. She pressed her cheek to my shoulder. "Look around," she whispered, gesturing at the lively scene. "Your vow to protect the ones you love? You did it. We're all here." My gaze swept the yard. Liam leaning down to tie Ariana's sneaker, Haley clinking soda bottles with Jason, Mia squealing over a shuttlecock soared too high, and Selena gently rocking our newborn. A lump rose in my throat. I'd come so far from the man who once lived in a motel, seething with betrayal. Now the warmth of family replaced that bitterness, forming a tapestry of second chances. Dinner turned into a feast of laughter and conversation. We gathered around a long table, passing salads, trading jokes. Liam teased Mia about her pro-badminton skills, while Haley lovingly chided him. Ariana discussed her new nursing job. Jason updated us on his startup's small successes. In the midst of it, baby Evan stirred, letting out a soft cry. I scooped him up, gently bouncing him. It still amazed me how natural fatherhood felt, even at my age. His tiny fingers curled around mine, forging that unbreakable bond. After dessert, the evening sky glowed purple. The kids lit sparklers, weaving bright trails in the air. Selena and I watched from the porch, arms wrapped around each other. My mind drifted to the past Vanessa's betrayal. the painful divorce, my own revenge schemes. All seemed so distant now, replaced by gratitude for this new life. We decided on an impromptu family photo. Jason propped his phone on a tripod, racing to join us as the timer blinked. In the snapshot, we were a mismatched, giggling bunch. Selena cuddling Evan, Haley leaning into Jason, Liam with an arm around Ariana, Mia in front waving a sparkler, and me standing in the center, heart overflowing. The camera flashed, capturing a moment that felt downright miraculous. Later, when the guests filed out, Liam hugged me tightly, murmuring, "Love you, Dad." I squeezed him back, pride swelling. Haley kissed my cheek. Jason gave me a firm handshake, promising they'd return soon. Mia clung to Ariana, begging for one more badminton round, but Selena gently reminded her it was bedtime. We closed the door with thankful hearts, the house falling into quiet contentment. With Mia tucked in and baby Evan settling down, Selena and I ended the night curled in bed, whispering sweet nothings. She ran her fingers through my hair, a gentle smile on her lips. "You realize this is it, right?" she said softly. "No more ghosts or grudges. You're free." I laced our fingers together, pressing a soft kiss to her palm. "Free," I echoed. "And in love with this chaos we call family." We laughed quietly. The memory of betrayal had burned away, replaced by the steady flame of love and redemption. Sometimes, the deepest revenge isn't destroying your enemy, it's living well, finding peace that renders them powerless. Vanessa had her bitter end. My vengeance had served its purpose, setting boundaries, shielding the children from further harm, but the real victory was learning to let go, to embrace love again. I'd traveled a long road from heartbreak to wholeness, and in the hush of this final moment, I felt complete. I closed my eyes, listening to Selena's soft breathing. Outside, the wind brushed the trees, a lullaby of calm. The next day, I'd wake to fatherhood duties diapers, morning cartoons with Mia, a bustling schedule at the bank. But I no longer carried heartbreak's weight. I'd forged a new path with the family I loved, and that slow-motion film, once filled with betrayal, now ended in quiet, luminous happiness.